Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Open. It is Tuesday, July 8th. Your boy's 2 minutes early because we're doing it early every single day. We are live. We are alive. Thank you all for being here today. We've got a lot to talk about this morning based on what has happened over the past 24 hours. Pre-markets are green, which again points to the resiliency of this market because yesterday, markets are red. If you want to call the S&P 500 down 1% a red day, it's the most red we've seen in the past couple of weeks. We're green in the pre-markets. The reason we were red is because of the tariffs, and we'll talk deeper into what happened with the tariffs yesterday. But regardless of the analysis around tariffs, it's kind of like the markets don't care. Again, the markets are like, all right, Trump wants to bring back some of these Liberation Day tariffs and make them intense against all these random countries we barely do trade with. All right, whatever. We kind of don't care. Tesla is up in the pre-markets, up about 1%. Palantir right here, basically flat. Palantir had a good day yesterday, up about 4%. Robinhood up about 0.5%. NVDA trying to get back to 160, 159.3. S&P 621. SoFi 30 cents away, less than 30 cents away from $20. It seems like there is a chance to break through that today. It seems like she wants to break through it, up 2.6% in the pre-markets. This might be the day for the first time in 3 years where we see SoFi above 20, which would be very exciting. Google right here, 171, grabs above 5, Amazon 223. Prime Day officially starts today. My mom will single-handedly make sure that Andy Jassy beats on Q3 earnings because of today. So we'll talk about some of the expectations for Prime Day, but Street's expecting close to $30 billion worth of goods are going to be sold over the next couple of days. Meta right here at 720. I mean, we got a green pre-market. And that's partly because I don't think the broader stock market believes that the tariffs that Trump put out are going to be that serious. And as a result, we will dive deeper into what we have going on. Dude, a jersey over a hoodie is not that crazy. Why is everyone complaining about the fit? First of all, this hoodie, by the way, it's my boy Paper Gains. Dude, he sent me, this is his logo for those, just Jason's brand. He sent me this hoodie like, I think like 5 months ago, and I've never worn it. And then today I just like, I should wear it. I should finally wear it. And then this Golden State jersey, shout out to Oakland and all my Chef Curry fans. I got this when I went to California in February, but I never got a chance to really wear it. I don't even think I wore it in California, but I bought it before I was going to California. And so today I was like, yeah, let's just wear it together. So there you go. It's a jersey over a hoodie, bro. It's not that crazy. I know I can't dress. I know I barely have any fashion sense, but egregious fit. It's not that crazy, dude. It's a jersey over a hoodie. Speaking of hoodies, folks. So we had a Robinhood event in California for March, which was their gold event. Then we had the Paris event. And today, Vlad announces, this will be our first topic of the day. We'll get into it. Vegas, baby. New event, Vegas, September 9th through September 10th. Robinhood's Summit. This happened in October last time in Miami. So they're going from Miami to Vegas. And this is 3 events in a year, dude. Most companies can't do one event. These are 3 product events. First one was gold. They introduced banking, Cortex, all the AI stuff. Second one was all the crypto stuff they announced last week, which kind of re-rated the stock, to be honest. A couple upgrades they got yesterday to $100 and $105 that we'll talk about. And then this one's going to be for active traders. Legend is kind of one of the more underwhelming product suites that Robinhood offers. A lot of the active traders like Jason don't use Legend. They still are using TradingView. So, I mean, there's a lot of things they can do to get more active traders onto the platform. But in Vegas, they will be announcing a bunch of new product events. So exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. And we will see what they announce in Vegas as they once again try to get the street to realize that they are not messing around. I think that is 3 weeks before S&P inclusion. Or no, I think the event is happening the event is happening a few days after they announced, because they announced it for the first Friday of September, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so they announced S&P inclusion on September 5th, and then the event is on September 9th. So we will know at that event if they got into the S&P 500. And that would be very excited to see as well for the potential of Robinhood. So gonna be cool. Gonna be exciting to see it. Vlad was on Bloomberg this morning. He was talking about their tokenization OpenAI controversy. He also was talking about Lithuania potentially inquiring about what exactly he's doing. Let's watch a little bit of that, and then we will get into everything else going into today.
So the regulator in Lithuania, which you're regulated by, I mean, he looks at the offering and he calls you and asks you what?
Yeah, I think they have some questions. You know, they want to make sure that everything is proper because it's a new innovative offering, and we're confident. We think that these are not only important, but they'll withstand the highest form of scrutiny. You know, when Robinhood does anything, particularly if it's new, I think we expect that it's going to be looked over. So we do believe that it's important and will ultimately withstand the scrutiny. So we welcome the discussions with the regulators, as always.
Were they worried about risk or the way it was packaged? And have you been able to assuage, or is this just that? I mean, when are you expecting to launch some of these tokens?
Yeah, so at first they were in the form of a giveaway. Okay. So we gave away around $1 million worth of OpenAI tokens, 500,000 worth of SpaceX. And the idea would be to eventually allow for them to be traded by customers and also to greatly expand the realm of tokens that we offer. We'd like to have thousands of private companies on the platform accessible to retail. And actually, since our announcement, I've had a deluge of inquiries, private companies that actually want.
That's a hell of a word, right? Deluge. I had to look up that word. I did not know what that word meant, but that's a hell of a word in the morning.
On to access retail, to have their shares tokenized, to be a part of this revolution. So I think that it's going to be a thing. Of course, it's always difficult to be first, but I think this is so important that we're very motivated to find a great way that satisfies everyone.
And Vlad, did you speak to any other regulators prior to developing these or launching the stock tokens for private companies?
Well, so they're live in the European Union, not live in the UK or the US yet, although we're very keen to find a way to give retail exposure to private companies here. And of course, we have ongoing discussions with all of our regulators as part of the course of running a regulated business.
So that was Vlad's response. There's a couple more minutes to this interview. We'll watch a little bit later, but that was his response to all the OpenAI Lithuania controversy. Again, Lithuania is not suing them or anything. People tried to spin the story a little aggressive yesterday. They're just inquiring what exactly are you doing with these tokens. And I think Robinhood and the team will be able to properly explain the kind of crypto innovation that they're trying to set forth here. And they shout out to the EU and Europe. They've been way ahead of the United States when it comes to crypto regulations, and they've been kind of more on the cutting edge of how this technology can be implemented, whereas America has been just ridiculously behind, partly because of Gary Gensler. But things have changed, right? Things have changed with Paul Atkins, and now I think Robinhood is going to have a lot more freedom to innovate in the States, but that means the Europeans are going to have a lot more access to these products and these features before Americans do, which is not a bad thing across the world. It also allows Robinhood to get a lot more customers because, they have a lot in the United States, but for them to expand into the EU would not be a bad thing at all for their business. So yeah, new event in Vegas for September. Yes, I probably will be there. So I will be likely in Vegas, and people were saying, why don't you do a Vegas meetup? I think it's just gonna be too hectic. I'll probably go to Vegas again in October, for my birthday, and we'll try to figure out the days for the meetup, but, it doesn't make sense to be in Vegas. It doesn't make sense to do a meetup on the 9th and 10th because it's just going to be, I'm sure there's going to be a jam-packed scheduled for the Robinhood event. So like trying to fit in a meetup just wouldn't make sense. So I think we'll do a proper meetup in October. However, I am likely going to California in September for something else, and it kind of lines up with this Vegas thing in Robinhood. So I think I'm going to spend a week out in the West Coast, and I think we'll do the September meetup pretty early. Like I'm thinking September 5th for LA. Not confirmed yet, but I'm thinking September 5th for LA, which is, I think, that Saturday weekend. And I know it's early in September, but it is going to line up with, or September 6th or 7th, that first Friday, the first Saturday of September. It kind of lines up with being on the West Coast. So most likely we'll be on the West Coast for a week in September, and I think we can do the LA meetup there, and then we'll transition to Vegas, and then we'll come back in October and we'll do the actual Vegas meetup. So we'll get some thoughts on that. Speaking of meetups, real quick, the show will be ending early today at 11 a.m. I know we've been going to like 12 usually every day. We're ending at 11 because I told you guys about that big Miami hotel that potentially is going to give us the entire meetup space for free. I have a meeting with them at 11 a.m. today. I have a meeting with them at 11 a.m. and I really got to be there in the meeting to make sure we can secure this location. So we are going to be ending about 30 minutes early today, even though realistically, it's an hour early because we've been doing like 12 p.m. every day. But 11 a.m. today, we'll be ending the show, and we'll be back for Technical Tuesday and have the normal like 4-hour show for the market close for that. And then we'll keep going from there. All right, let's get started with a lot of other topics. That was the first Robinhood one, and let's get into everything else we got going on. Triple V, thank you for the $100 super chat. Again, thank you, sir, for being here. Triple V owns a decent chunk of Robinhood, so he's been having a fun time over the past couple of weeks seeing this bad boy gap up to 100. Dude, I think we're going back to 100. I think it's happening. I mean, like, I know it's been stuck in this 92 to 95 kind of range. I think it broke out. It just didn't have enough volume to stay above it. You had people that took profits. We got upgraded across the board. Goldman Sachs upgraded us. Citi, they had to finally swallow the bullet. They had to upgrade us from 50 to 100. It was hilarious, bro. Like, they kept it at 50 for the longest. And yesterday they were like, all right, fine. We'll upgrade it to 100. So we're getting upgrades across the board in the $100 range. Mizuho, I think, upgraded us to 99. So it's like, it's starting to happen. And I think if they can nail the active trading event, not to mention, dude, we got banking coming out in September. That's a whole nother vertical for Robinhood, along with Cortex, their AI product. I think we're going to be over 100. And I think if we can get S&P inclusion as well, it kind of guarantees that. But we just got to get through August in September, which is seasonally weak for Robinhood. If we can get through that, then I think it will not be the worst thing in the world. So thank you, Triple V, for being here. Thank you for the $100 super chat. Jody, thank you for becoming a channel member as well. And thank you for being here and being part of the channel. All right, so a couple things in the pre-market, and then we'll get into some stories. SoFi, big eye on that, 1989, 10 cents away. We might hit 20 in the pre-markets. We got about 35 minutes left until we get to the opening bell. S&P 500 is green, AMD 137, NVIDIA right here 159, Tessie 297, Tesla kind of shrugging off all the America Party stuff, still down about 5%, but not as bad as some people thought. Palantir right here 138, Amazon Prime Day. We'll talk about that today. I'm actually ordering a lot of stuff on Amazon for the apartment today, so I'm going to be spending probably like $2 or $3 grand on Amazon today. But this is going to be probably their biggest Prime Day, and last year was their biggest Prime Day in history. So I would imagine if they can top last year, then this is going to be really good for Q3 earnings and just broadly showing that online commerce is Amazon's market, and they're obviously effectively executing against that overarching thesis. Circle right here, 200, that's down about 3%. App Lovin, 351. You got Pinterest at 35.99, Enphase at 40, that's down about 5%. Then Microsoft right here, 497. Again, S&P 500 at 621 on the day. Okay, so let's talk about tariffs, because last night, if you were on the market close, you had a bunch of different tariffs that came out, and it was really weird, but nonetheless, this is what Trump announced yesterday via Truth Social letters. He literally posted the letter under everyone's, or in new tweets, and he said Cambodia, Thailand, Bangladesh, Serbia, Indonesia, Bosnia, Tunisia, Japan, and South Korea all are going to be tariffs. You can see the rates right now on your screen. Upwards of 25 to 36%. Oh, and Japan and South Korea, which are supposed to be some of the biggest trading deals that we're supposed to get, apparently it doesn't seem like we have any deals with them. And Trump publicly said, hey, they're going to do 25% flat across the board. Now, the reason this is weird is because these are basically a smaller version, like 5 to 10% less of the Liberation Day reciprocal tariffs that Trump introduced, which made no sense to the market and coincidentally caused the market to go down to levels we haven't seen since 2022. Retail bought the dip. Retail benefited, institutions didn't benefit, and that was kind of the story of 2025. Now Trump's trying to do it in a 2.0 way with Liberation Day. I mean, like kind of reintroducing it without making this big grand announcement, but basically saying, hey, Cambodia, we were going to tariff you like 47%, but instead of 47, because you haven't come to the negotiating table, you haven't answered our phone calls, or you haven't really called us, we're going to do 36%. And it's up to Cambodia now to be like, is this guy bluffing? Is this like, is he actually is he on August 1st, which is the new confirmed delay reciprocal tariff implementation date outside of July 9th, which was supposed to be tomorrow. Cambodia's got to ask themselves, is he serious on August 1st or is he bluffing? And I mean, dude, at the end of the day, you know, you can't show your cards these many times and not expect people to be like, we're just going to call your bluff. Now, granted, Trump might say, all right, like, I mean, we did have 150% tariffs on China for like a good 3 weeks before they finally went the opposite direction. Maybe Trump just says straight up, all right, Bangladesh, you're paying 35%. Indonesia, you're paying 32%. Japan, South Korea, you're doing a flat 25%. I don't know what impact that would have on the economy. I do think the market would feel a little, all right, hold on, buddy. We're already trading at 22 times earnings. We're going to go through some macro analysis here, but earnings has to be damn near perfect to justify the current multiple on the S&P 500. Like, we really don't have that much breathing room because, again, even though we're barely up year to date, we have recovered so nicely from the April lows. that if there is going to be any level of pain in the broader earnings picture, or if JPOW ends up being proven right that we're going to have massive inflation, or at least sticky inflation, even if it's not that aggressive, because of 25% tariffs in Japan and South Korea, then number one, we're not getting a rate cut. Like, we're just like, kiss that goodbye. And number two, you might have some meaningful effects on inflation, even if, you can say that, all right, the inflation will be offset by tariff revenue, yada, yada. Like, at the end of the day, if the economic data, the CPI comes out, PCE comes out and says we have sticky inflation, no one's going to care. And JPOW is definitely not going to care. And unless Trump fires him himself, I mean, I don't know how this is going to be playing out. So my perspectives on this is that I think he's using this as leverage. I think he's negotiating. I think this is going to be a taco. I don't think he wants to put that much pressure on inflation, because Trump knows that he can't afford to put that much pressure on inflation. And at the end of the day, he's going to have to get these countries to agree to something. Now, if he put a 10% flat tariff like the market expected on Cambodia, South Korea, et cetera, there would be no issue. But he's threatening these 25, 35% tariffs. And this is where the market has to say, do we believe them or not? And if we don't believe them, then I think we move on from there. And the market can, further go forward. But if we do believe them, then I think it gets a little sticky going into the back half of the year in terms of seeing what's going to happen with the United States. Inflation has been flat. That is correct. However, it is not significantly coming down. I mean, month over month, we're seeing some progress, but we're not seeing that 2% that the Fed wants to see. We're still at about 2.4%. That 2.4 becomes 2.7. I mean, it's just going to be tough, dude. It's just going to be really tough for JPOW to justify a rate cut, especially with remember, the labor market's hot. Non-farm payrolls are great. Now, maybe they're lying to us, but if we look at the data, the labor market's good. Inflation needs to be the thing that comes down to get JPOW to justify a cut. If we have these stupid tariffs, we're just going to have the perception. I mean, if already he's saying the perception of tariffs is inflationary, what happens when we tariff Cambodia by 36%, or Bangladesh, where we get tons of Zara, H&M, Lululemon, they get all their clothes from Bangladesh and Pakistan. If we are tariffing the crap out of them and that ends up being, imposed on the consumer, that's just something that JPOW is not going to be able to tolerate in terms of being able to get the leeway for a rate cut. Now, Goldman Sachs has raised their S&P 500 forecast, expecting a 3% gain in 3 months, 6,400, 6% by year end, 6,600 is their end of year target. And they're expecting 7,000, 6,900 basically a year from now. So they're expecting 2026 is going to be good. They're not expecting it to be bad. EPS growth is still seen at 7%. I think Q2 EPS growth is around 10%. Again, we got to beat that. Like, we just got to beat that. We definitely got to come in line. But if we beat that, I think we can easily say 6,500 by the end of summer is not that crazy to imagine, even with some weird macro issues that are going on. If we miss that, we're going to have some issues. And so this is what's going on with tariffs. This is what the Trump administration is going to have to figure out. Again, I think they're negotiating, but ultimately the markets will decide. And once they do, we'll have a better understanding of how the macro shapes up in the context of earnings growth and then overall what the market thinks about tariffs. SoFi 1999. You guys said you saw 20. I have not seen 20 yet. We got to ring the bell when the market opens for 20. Pre-markets are cool, but we got to see it when the market opens. It's probably going to happen when the market opens. That's when we'll ring the bell for this one hitting 20. Let me see on Webull. I don't see it on Legend. Do I see it on Webull? I hit 2015. Okay, so it busted through. All right, so it is. This thing is busting through 20 when the market opens. It might get sold off for a little bit just because there's probably going to be a bunch of sell orders, but eventually it'll be back. I think today's the day we see SoFi over 20. It hit 20, brother. I seen it with my own two eyes. Oh my gosh. Well, look, it is time for it to happen. Roy, Tanner, and I talked about it last night. I asked Tanner, what does it look like to be or what does it feel like to embrace a new era for the stock? There it goes. There's 20. There's 20. There she is. And he said it feels pretty damn good because this is a company that has been executing, has not been rewarded by the street for a variety of reasons. And now with rate cuts on the way, and quite frankly, this is the one fintech that just hasn't made a massive move, not only this year, but in the past couple of years compared to other names. And so I think the street's like, all right, some of those other names might be expensive. Let's start buying SoFi, right? Like at the end of the day, their growth is nice. Their profitability is nice. Anthony Noto is not a bad CEO. So the question just becomes, where do we allocate our capital? And that one might happen to be SoFi. So there you go. Market open. Even if we sell off a little bit, it'll be back to 20 later throughout the day. I mean, the volume is just like massive right now in the pre-markets, I can see. So people want to get, yeah, volume's already 1 million shares in the pre-market, up 4%. So this one will probably have its day. And then if we get a close over 20, it can get very exciting. And I was telling Tanner and Roy this last night. I mean, we've all experienced it with Robinhood. It's just like once you get momentum and you have the earnings growth to justify it, which SoFi just has to crush Q2, which I think they will. Tanner put out a good post yesterday showing all the different catalysts that they had in this quarter that should probably get them another triple beat. And this time the street just has to respect it. Momentum builds momentum, right? And $20 is not expensive, right? Forget valuation. Like $20 is just $20. You have a lot of money in the market that can easily buy 1,000 shares of SoFi at 20, because it's just like $20,000 versus 1,000 shares of NVIDIA that would cost you $160,000, right? So it's just like, there's more capital available to flow into names that aren't that much in terms of their dollar amounts. And as a result, that could continue to keep the momentum going. So my spreads need 20 by January 2026. It seems like that is possible. And then if we break through 20, I mean, 25, 30, like if the momentum's really there, and it stops getting disrespected by the street, right? Because SoFi's had a perception problem this whole year. If that perception's gone and the narrative changes, which the narrative can change very quickly, you know, this could get very exciting for a lot of SoFi shareholders. So SoFi right there at $19.95. You got Google right here, $177.55. Speaking of Google, Waymo, not only are they in Philly as of yesterday, they're coming to New York. They have started testing in New York. Waymo continues to execute and expand in a pretty aggressive way in terms of getting their cars into these densely populated areas. Philadelphia and New York are not going to be easy places to be able to have robotaxis in, but they're starting. So very nice to see some of that Waymo momentum. Uber hit an all-time high yesterday. Uber right now in the pre-markets was at 96. It's at 97. That's basically another all-time high. So Uber getting momentum. Anything Waymo does, I think, is good for Uber. Ultimately, they're going to have a massive partnership with Uber in the long-term trajectory of their fleet of AVs. So nice to see that working out for Uber and Waymo as well. Shout out to Sachin. Sachin has been long SoFi since like $7. He's been waiting for a long time for this moment. He's been, if you follow him on Twitter, he's been posting tons of DD over the past couple of years. SoFi started really making its run. I remember this when I was in India in October 2024. It went from 7 to 9. And I bought my options like right before I bought my options like a week before I went to India in September. It was like at 720. And then by October, it was at like 950. It got to 10. And then it got to 18 by January. And then it just got rejected over the past couple months. And now she's back. So for those that have been loaded up heavy on this, now a lot of people are loaded up on options on this. A lot of people loaded up at $7, $8 and just bought $10 calls, $15 calls, etc. Those are printing. And now it's just a question of how much can they print towards the end of the year. And you got 6 months left, and you got hopefully 2 rate cuts on the way, which can obviously be very, very exciting for SoFi. So that's what we got there on SoFi. Let's talk about NVIDIA. We got a new price target for NVIDIA from Citibank, 190. 190. This is not a street high. Loop Capital has a street high, and that's why I think NVIDIA is up a little bit on the day. NVIDIA 164 is what we need for $4 trillion. Citibank says we're raising it from 180 to 190, and here's kind of their logic. They now see the AI TAM for data center semis hitting $563 billion by 2028. That's $500 billion, a 13% increase from previous forecasts. Within this, GPU and custom ASIC market is expected to grow by 4%, primarily driven by better than expected sovereign AI projects. The networking TAM has been significantly revised upwards from $90 billion to $119 billion. That's a 32% increase, propelled by larger scale AI clusters and amplified enterprise internal network demand. Networking shares of the overall TAM is projected to increase to 21%. Arista Networks, ANET, ticker symbol ANET, is another company to look at for those that are interested in the networking aspects of these data centers. So you have massive increases in terms of the overall total addressable markets in a variety of different verticals for NVIDIA's business going into 2028. And basically Citi's like, well, if we think NVIDIA can execute against those numbers that we're putting out there, this stock deserves to be rated higher. And, you know, if NVIDIA gets to the 190s, AMD is probably going higher. Dell's probably going higher. SMCI is going higher. SMCI right here up about 0.72%. All the semis are likely going to participate in that love. And, you know, NVIDIA gets to fulfill the prophecy of being the darling child of AI because they have the growth to get back to justify that. Also, Citi said that by the back half of 2025, which is what Colette, the CFO, mentioned in the last call, they will get back to a mid 70% gross margins. I think right now they were at like 57% or something. So if they get back to that like 74 to 75% gross margins, that should be really good for their net income margins, which are currently right now at like 55%. I think last quarter was like 51%, but that would be really good for SoFi. That would be really good for NVIDIA, but NVIDIA going up would also be really good for SoFi because it means the broader market would be very bullish and there would be capital flowing around everywhere. So did I say currently right now? I didn't even notice it. But currently right now, NVIDIA's at 159. SoFi's trying to break 20. It already broke 20. Likely will break it once we open the markets. And it's just, again, I think this is a reason why the S&P is green. We got all these ridiculous Liberation Day 2.0 tariffs that were announced yesterday. Markets were down 0.5%. And now the S&P 500 is like, wait a second, NVIDIA. We have NVIDIA. Like, what do we do about NVIDIA? NVIDIA's going to keep, okay, like, can we really be that bearish? You know, Tom Lee in that interview, when he said this is the beginning of a new bull market, and he said that whenever there's a 30% drawdown or a 20% drawdown followed by a 30% reversal, his data historically at Fundstrat says that is the start of a new bull market. And that, you know, he's not just saying it to say, he's not just saying it to throw it out there. He's saying, hey, historically, when you have this type of a drawdown in the middle of a bull market and then have this type of a reversal, it signals that everything was washed out. And because it was so bad, it can't get that bad again, aka get into another bear market, because bear markets are defined by a negative 20% drawdown. Because we already had it and we reversed that quickly, historically, that means we're at the start of a new bull market. If we are actually in the start of a new bull market and we have the technology revolution to support us via AI, data centers, and then obviously all the earnings growth and margin productivities that are going to be happening as a result of AI, I mean, the next 5 years should be the greatest time to be an investor in the history of investing. Now, obviously, you could have black swan events, you could have all this random stuff that happens, but still, it would just be an incredible time to be an investor, and you got to be allocated to capital. You just got to have capital that is allocated to assets that can actually scale. Wolfspeed right here, up another 45% in the pre-markets. This is a company that filed for bankruptcy. They are in the semiconductor space. They had a new CFO announced yesterday. That's what got it 150% move yesterday. It's up another 45% right here. I am not chasing this, but if you're in this over the past 48 hours, you've made some money. Either you take profits here or hope that the train continues. But that one is green. BMNR, the Ethereum treasury, that's at 113. That's up about 5%. BT, another Ethereum treasury that was announced yesterday. That's up another 10% after being up, I think, like 50% yesterday. So you do have the rise of these Ethereum treasuries getting some momentum. Oh, by the way, there's another Bitcoin treasury that was announced this morning all the way from Paris. I don't know if they're from Paris, but from France. Publicly traded Sequans. Does anyone know what that company is? Raises $384 million to launch their Bitcoin treasury. I think we're going to see a lot more of these companies launch Bitcoin treasuries and then potentially Ethereum treasuries, because if they do, if they do, it obviously could have a positive impact on the asset classes. But I think they're incentivized to do it because they're seeing the success that Assembler Scientific, a Metaplanet, a MicroStrategy obviously are having. A BMNR for Ethereum and SBET, even though they tanked really badly, but they're still up a lot. They're seeing the success, and they're saying as a result, you know, this requires maybe not being stuck in treasuries, but reallocating to assets that can actually do very well. So this is the company. I have no idea what this company does. Sequans, France. They are a communications company, IT communication company. That's what they are. All right, so they're an IT communications company that says, you know what? We are not going to keep our cash in treasuries. We are buying Bitcoin. And so there you go. I think we're going to see a lot more of this around the street. Bitcoin right there at 109. Currently right now in the pre-markets. Dude, this is not a crazy fit to have a hoodie and a jersey on top. It's a very you've never seen someone wear a jersey on top of a hoodie. There's no way you've never seen this fit. Like I've worn this not on the stream that many times, but I've worn this so many times in my life. The fit is not crazy. It's a jersey over a hoodie. It's a jersey over a hoodie. That's all it is. It's a Paper Gains, our boy Jason. This is his brand. This is the first time I'm actually rocking his hoodie. But it's not crazy, bro. It's a freaking jersey over a hoodie. It's not that insane. It's not that wild. This is not what I usually wear every day. That's why everyone's like, what's going on? But BMNR needs to change their ticker to Tom. That is hilarious, bro. I mean, that's facts. That is facts. They should do that. Okay, last thing on NVIDIA, and then we'll move on from there. So this shit I thought was a joke yesterday. I couldn't believe this, but this is real, folks. If I told you that the NVIDIA account, the actual 2 million follower account posted this, I don't think you would believe me. They said, we're proud to partner with OpenAI and continue powering the foundation of their work. Nothing crazy with that as like a caption to the picture. But then the picture is them screenshotting the Reuters article debunking the Information article from 2 weeks ago saying that Google's going to be selling OpenAI all their custom TPUs. And the Reuters article headline is OpenAI says it has no plan to use Google's in-house chip. I was like, whoever took advantage of the social media on NVIDIA yesterday, I mean, good work. Good work. I mean, basically they're saying, hey, Google's not winning this game, buddy. They can do their little TPU fancy smanchy stuff over there. We've got Blackwell, and OpenAI is trying to achieve AGI, which means they need to buy a lot more Blackwell from us. They don't need any of these Google TPUs. This was pretty savage, bro. NVIDIA doesn't do this. Like, this is the official account. NVIDIA is very corporate, very professional. They're not that aggressive in terms of how they tweet. They don't have like a fun Twitter account like a Tesla. But the fact that they put this out, I think they're trying to send a message like, hey, don't you freaking dare. Don't you dare try to stop us from getting to $164 because we are going to 4 trillion. We are going to 4 trillion, and no articles around Google TPUs is going to stop that. And so, yes, we got NVIDIA beefing with Google before GTA 6. That's what we got going on. So admit it's time to stop letting blind people address you. Okay, that's a good roast, but this is very aggressive. It's a little aggressive is all I'm saying. Like, a little aggressive is all I'm saying. I know I can't dress, but I didn't think jersey over a hoodie would get roasted this badly. This is not even a Dan. Why are you saying Dan Ives rubbing on me? This is not even the flowers, bro. This is not even like fruity or anything. Amit, go change. All right, let me play a video, then I'll be back. I'm gonna go change. No, I'm just kidding. Dude, by the way, I asked my sister last night, like, how do you say Alfredo, the F word? And she said, oh, fettuccine. And I was like, all right, whatever. I guess I've been saying it wrong for 15 years. If you were part of the Market Open, the last 5 minutes, I mentioned fettuccine because I was talking about pasta because the word of the day had to do with pasta. I was like, oh yeah, I like this type of pasta, but I like Alfredo fettuccine. And I really did not realize that would create a revelation after 15 years of me saying Italian food is my number 2 favorite food after Indian food, that I was saying the damn word wrong for so many years. I couldn't believe it last night. Then I asked Tanner and Roy. They said fettuccine. I was like, oh, okay. So this is like literally, this has been a me thing. It's been a me thing for freaking 15 years. But it is what it is. I kind of still want to say fettuccine. It just sounds a little bit better than fettuccine. Yo, dude, literally my boy Matteo, he was watching the stream. He's the person whose startup I invested in. He's Italian. And he literally sent me this last night because of how upset he was that I got this wrong. This is the voice note that he sent me. All right, here it is. Fettuccine. And he says feta means slice, and then fettuccine means little slices. So apparently that's the etymology of the word. So there we go. All right, we got 14 minutes until the market opens. That's the update on NVIDIA. Speaking of NVIDIA, I think it's a clean transition into OpenAI and Meta. So yesterday, this was a pretty big deal, and Apple gets in the loop right here. Bloomberg reported after hours that Apple's top AI executive, which I didn't even know they had a top AI executive, but apparently they do, is leaving for Meta's new superintelligence group. And this is getting a bit ridiculous right now. Now, why is this getting ridiculous? We talked about this last week. Alexander Wang, who used to be the CEO of Scale AI, he got recruited to Meta to be the chief AI officer. He tweeted this last week. These are like 15 different people that left OpenAI and some of them that left Gemini. Some of the like the pioneers of O1 Mini and DeepMind and all this stuff, GPT 4.5, etc. They left to join Meta. And it's just perplexing because it's like, what exactly is Meta offering that the mission-oriented nature of OpenAI is not offering? And apparently, it seems like my kind of conclusion of this is it's money. They're offering like $100 million signing bonuses with like $300 to $400 million contracts over the term of the contract, over the term of like the life cycle of working at Meta, which is like insanity, dude. Like, it's like you know, you'd be lucky if your company gets bought out for like 50 million, and individual people are getting hundreds of millions of dollars, which means they must be the most elite of elite talent on the planet. And whatever OpenAI compensation that they got in stock, they're thinking, hey, even if OpenAI goes to $1 trillion, even if it goes to $2 trillion, I would not make as much money as if I just joined Meta. And then yesterday, when they get the head of Apple's AI, and you know, I don't know if the head of Apple's AI division has been really engaged in that much meaningful research, but they probably have experience scaling AI products if you want to call the Genmojis an AI product, to 2 billion people in terms of their devices. And as a result, that's probably valuable for Meta. Now, Meta has, billions and billions of users as well. But nonetheless, if you can poach someone from Apple who's been working on AI and give you the tips and tricks and secrets that they were working out when it came to probably agentic workflows inside of voice-oriented AI, aka Siri, that simply has not been rolled out. What if Meta wins the voice AI race? I mean, I think all of us have been dying for a voice AI that actually works, that is actually sophisticated, that can do stuff. I mean, the amount of times every day I want to tell Siri to schedule this appointment for me, and I realize Siri can't do anything. I think that would be a massive market. And the question simply is just going to become if that market manifests itself. And if it does, then maybe Meta becomes the winner. For some context on this, for those that haven't watched, this is Sam Altman explaining what Meta has been doing and how ruthless they've have been ultimately becoming with these offers when it comes to OpenAI.
A really good shot, a much better shot at actually delivering on super intelligence, and also may eventually be the more valuable company. But I think the strategy of a ton of upfront guaranteed comp, and that being the reason you tell someone to join, really the degree to which they're focusing on that and not the work and not the mission, I don't think that's going to set up a great culture. And I hope that we can be the best place in the world to do this kind of research. I think we built a really special culture for it. And I think that we're set up such that if we succeed at that, and a lot of people on our research team believe we will, or we have a good chance at it, then everybody will do great financially. And I think it's incentive aligned with mission first and then economic rewards and everything else flowing from that. So I think
losing some of the top researchers at OpenAI means that his culture that he's talking about is bullshit. It just is, dude. You don't have 15 of your top researchers that are on the cutting edge of AI that have a product that's basically at 1 billion users in less than 2 years, which is insanity. You don't leave that for Meta just for money. I mean, those people, you just can't be that motivated by money at that point, right? I'm sure money is a motivation, but if you are on the fourth industrial revolution, the most important technological paradigm shift in the history of humanity, to leave for money, you probably didn't get to that research position just because of money. And you're going to have unlimited amounts of money just given your stature if you are successful at achieving it. Those people tend to not be motivated by money. I think the money played a factor in leaving, but there might be something about the culture of OpenAI. I mean, this is a company where all 3 co-founders, or there are 4 co-founders, 3 of them are gone. 2 of them started new companies, Ilya and Mira. And they both raised billions of dollars without even having a product. One of them literally named his company, Ilya, Safe Super Intelligence. I think that's a slap in the face to OpenAI, because if OpenAI, the company you co-founded, should be building, theoretically, super intelligence that is safe, for you to name another company, SSI, Safe Super Intelligence, and then raise a couple billion for it without even having a product. I mean, it just goes to show maybe some of those researchers saw something in the research they were developing, or maybe they said, hey, this is getting too advanced, we need to have more guardrails. And maybe Sam Altman was like, no, screw it, we are going for everything. I don't want any restrictions, yada yada. Maybe they didn't feel it was the right environment and they left. Now it also could just be a lot of money they got offered by Meta. I mean, I can't undermine, at the end of the day, if someone offers you $500 million, $100 million upfront, hard to say no. And you've got the unlimited piggy bank that Zucks has with the liquidity of the public markets, which, by the way, I am a little concerned what this is going to mean for Meta earnings. But I think Zucks is going to get on the earnings call and just be like, hey, we spent $1 billion on a bunch of engineers. You guys let me spend $70 billion on the metaverse. That didn't work out. I'm spending a lot less than that on AI. It's working. You're seeing the numbers. Maybe the margins are down a little bit because we have to spend some more on the cost of labor. But nonetheless, this is a multi-trillion-dollar market. Either we're going to go after it, or Google's going to go after it, or Amazon's going to go after it. So we need to spend. And take it or leave it. And I think the street's going to be like, yeah, sure, keep spending. Because at the end of the day, the street wants to see growth. And it's not like Meta has been a stock that's been disappointing. I mean, the thing is up 8x from the lows of 2022. So from that perspective, I think he's going to be able to justify it. SoFi right there, 1995. And the question becomes, what the hell happens to Apple? Apple right here, it was down a little bit, and now it's at 210. It was almost at 215 yesterday. They got reiterated by Evercore to 250, and basically the argument by Evercore is, hey, they have a big distribution, they'll have the services, yada. There's just nothing exciting right now about Apple. Foldable phones, AI, Siri, there's nothing there. But that doesn't mean the stock has to collapse or anything, given it's Apple. It's just a question of, does it catch a bid? Especially if they're losing some of their top talent to Meta at this point. Pounce right here, 138.95 as well in the pre-markets. Artist here, thank you for the $100 super chat. Just trying to understand why Triple V sends you $100 every day by sending you $100. Okay, that's hilarious. But thank you, Artist here. I appreciate it. For those that don't know Artist here, he is a OG supporter of the channel. Ardashir has been along the journey since like 2022. He's been following my journey, following my content, all that stuff. He has a lovely wife, lovely kids. He's a doctor. So thank you, Ardashir, for being here. Appreciate you. And yeah, thank you for the super chat. Sending you $100 every day by sending you $100. That's hilarious. Dude, Triple V is he's a friend of Derek. For everyone who's so confused about it, he's a friend of Derek. He's very successful. He enjoys this community. The $100 that he sends every day is just like, hey, it's, I enjoy the community. I enjoy being part of it. $100 to him is not that big of a deal. I am very grateful for the $100. He doesn't need to send it, but I think it's just his way. Just like when Derek gifts 50 memberships, Derek just does it for fun. I was on the phone with Derek this morning. He's making a lot of progress in his startup, and he's just, he's crushing it. Triple V is also an investor in his startup. And so, they're very good friends. I got to know him from knowing Derek, and he's just part of the show. Enjoys being part of the community. So that's who he is. He pays for us to roast the mist. Exactly. He subsidized all the mean comments about me not having a fashion designer or me needing to go to fashion school to be able to figure out how to not wear a jersey over a hoodie. He subsidizes all of that. I take all the bullying for that $100 every single day. So that's what we do. Artist here. Again, thank you, man. It's been a long time. We got to talk, but appreciate you being part of the show. Appreciate you being part of the channel. And thank you for the super chat as well. Vladder, thanks for the $5. Hey, chat, new here. Wanted to see if you have a group chat for when you're offline. I'm in SoFi and Hood because of you. Thanks for coming on every day. First of all, thanks for being here. I know a lot of people joined because of the Tom Lee interview. So we do a live stream every morning, market open, market close. Thank you for being here, being part of the community. We don't have a group chat for when we're offline. I kind of don't like the concept of a Discord. It's just too much to manage. It's a busy day. Having to deal with a group chat constantly is a little bit too much. It's just way too many notifications. So we don't have a group chat. However, we are live twice a day. So for like almost 7 hours a day. So this kind of a chat basically is a big group chat. And then I'm on Twitter all the time. So if you're on Twitter, I'll be in the comments and be talking there every single day as well. So there you go. That's what we got. SoFi did announce some new private market access deals yesterday as well. So again, the ability to invest in some of these private companies, they're not really going the tokenization route like Robinhood is. They're going a little bit more like if you're an accredited investor, you can apply for this type of stuff. So that is one new update that SoFi introduced yesterday. SoFi right here in 1993. I think we're going to get a $20 open. And if we don't, it's going to be a sell-off that I think is going to be quick and swift. And we will see 20. We hopefully will be able to see 20. Any news on Figma? So I looked at their S1. The S1 is amazing. I don't know when they're going to go public. I think it's in the next couple of weeks, to be honest, like probably in the next month. But their S1 is fantastic. And, 48% growth, profitable, $1 billion in cash. I mean, it's going to be one of the best IPOs this year, in my opinion. I think the street's going to bid it up. I have not researched that deeply on their moat and like how sustainable the growth is. And that's something I have to do more intensely in terms of figuring out, is it a business you want to be long on for the next 10 years? Like, could it be commoditized with AI and all this stuff? Like, I'm not really sure, but the numbers are amazing. And so I do think it's going to be, I would apply for it. I mean, if Robinhood gives us the allocation, I'll throw in, like, I'll try to buy like 100 shares, 200 shares and see if they give me the allocation. But I think it's going to be heavily oversubscribed. 3 minutes until the market opens. This is what Dan Ives said this morning about Tesla. He said, Tesla board of directors take the following 3 steps in our view. New pay package getting Musk to 25% voting control clears a path for an XAI merger. Guardrails established for the amount of time Musk spends at Tesla as part of the pay package. Oversight on political endeavors. These are the 3 ideas that Mr. Dan Ives has for Tesla. I love Dan Ives, but I don't think any of this makes sense. I think at the end of the day, the board of directors are part of Elon's friends. Whether you like it or hate it, is what it is. They're not going to put in I mean, could you imagine putting in the pay package? Hey, Elon, if you tweet a meme about Trump, we're going to take away your pay. Like, no, dude, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I think that he needs to get the pay package clarified because the Delaware judge has made things really weird, even after shareholders overwhelmingly voted to give Elon like $70 billion or whatever it was. But trying to like micromanage him, it's not going to work. It's freaking Elon Musk. It's Elon Musk. So I just don't think that makes the most sense. Now, speaking of Elon, we will be live streaming Wednesday, 11 p.m. Eastern, because Elon announced that Grok 4 is going live. And this is the type of stuff where, look, he's going to be super political, start the America Party, all that stuff. And then like not less than 24 hours later, he's going to say Grok 4 release live stream on Wednesday. And he goes back to business. He goes back to, hey, like I'm running one of the biggest AI companies in the world, which isn't even Tesla. It's XAI worth $130 billion. And we're putting out the newest model that's going to compete with GPT and Gemini and all that stuff. So, I mean, Elon's not stopping in terms of his execution as well. And we're going to be live streaming this 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday. And I use Grok every day. I'm a power user of Grok. It's the LLM that I pay for. So I'm really hoping that it's, even better than it already is. And back to business. So, I mean, look, when it came to the America Party creating that much brand damage or whatever for Tesla, I think Tesla did put on their website the $7,500 EV tax credit will be ending very soon. This is the first time they've, put out a major warning to people. Look at this. If you go to their website right here, $7,500 federal tax credit ending September 30th. I think that will drive a ton of demand in Q3 for Tesla. The question then just becomes, can they convert that into sustainable demand? And can Elon maybe not really be that big into the American Party? And if that's the case, along with their AI momentum continuing with robotaxis, maybe the stock does not have to tank as a lot of people were predicting. So that's what we got on Tessie. All right, 30 seconds until the market opens. Lulu, thank you for the 5 super chat. Admit it's such a pleasure watching you grow. Happy birthday. It is not my birthday, Lulu, but appreciate the happy birthday. Appreciate you being here. I know you've been part of the channel for like 3-4 years now. And yeah, I appreciate everybody. I really, really deeply appreciate everyone being here every single day. It means the world. It is the greatest job in the world to wake up to, even if everyone makes fun of me for not being able to dress. But we get to open up the market every single day. And that's why we're here. Tuesday, July 8th, 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. All right, wake your ass up. Let's get into it. Tesla opens at 297. 297 on the day. Robinhood, 96.29. All right, Robinhood up about 3.26%. Not too bad on hoodies. SoFi, 1980. All right, so SoFi gets rejected at 1991 at the open. That's pretty normal. It's trying to go for a massive new milestone. It hit it in the pre-markets. I do think we will see 20 in a bit. But whenever you're trying to go for that big milestone, there's going to be a ton of resistance in the early moments. But eventually, I think it breaks through. 1991 right there on SoFi. Tesla right here, 297. Palantir, 137. Robinhood, 96.97. Palantir back to 97. There you go. Or sorry, Robinhood back to 97. 97.14. Up 3.84%. AMD, 136. SoFi hits 20. There she goes. There she goes. There is 20 for SoFi. 20 Dolores for SoFi. For those that have been waiting for this for basically 3 years now, since IPO in 2021, it is back. First time since November 2021. Got to 18 in January. Went all the way down to 8 during Liberation Day. We are back to $20 on SoFi. I know I just rang the bell, but we got to ring the bell again. Congratulations to everybody in SoFi. There she is, folks. There she is, and she's beautiful. She is beautiful. $20 on SoFi, and she's not stopping. $20.14. Robinhood, 97.63. I don't know what's getting the market excited. Maybe it was the upgrade. Maybe it was Vlad announcing the 3rd event of the year in Vegas that he announced this morning for September 9th. Maybe that's what's getting the street excited, but 97.80 right there on hoodie. S&P 500 right there, 620. SoFi still 20. Google, 177. Palantir down a little bit on the day. Palantir was up about 4% yesterday at around 138. Right here at 137.80 at the moment. Tesla right here, 300. Tessie back to 300. If you bought that 293 dip yesterday or that 280 dip, not bad. Tesla right there at 300. Palantir again, 137. Robinhood trying to get to 98, 97.40. NVIDIA, 159.17. Let me check resistance for SoFi at 21. But NVIDIA getting back to 160 would be very nice, given that we were there. We were there last week on Thursday. And so getting back there would be very nice to see. Oh, SoFi's running. She's running. She is now running. It is SoFi's time. It is SoFi's time. It is SoFi's day. 21 resistance on SoFi. 112,000 shares. 112,000 shares. I mean, it's not that crazy given SoFi's volume. And if the volume's there and the buy pressure is there, she can crack through that. She can crack through that. 2043 on SoFi. Google right here, 177. Grab above 5. Reddit's at 155. That's up about 1%. Amazon is flat on the day. Meta basically flat. Apple is down. Maybe on that news that one of their heads of AI has left to Meta. SMCI right there, 0.7%. Bitcoin at 108. Where's BMNR? That stock is up 8%. BTBT, another Ethereum treasury, that's up 11%. Wolfspeed That company's up 35%, down a little bit from the pre-markets, but still green on the day. The Qs are up. Roblox is down 1.3, NVIDIA 159, Robinhood 97.43, Palantir 138, S&P 620, SoFi 2048, 2050 now. Google again 177, Alibaba right here 108. Where's Big Bear AI? That stock is up 9%. That one's getting some love. SoundHound, that one's getting some love, up 12%. How about Joby? That one's getting some love, up 5%. Can Archer finish us off? Archer, that one's getting some love, up 2%. Dude, we have one red day. One red day. If you call a 1% down day on the S&P red because of the tariffs, Robinhood right here 96.80, and the market's back the next day. Now, obviously, it's only 4 minutes into the market open. Everything, anything can happen throughout the day. We can get a little bit of a sell-off. Algorithms can kick in, but just the resiliency of this market is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. At SoFi right there, all-time highs, 2053. 2053, definitely 52-week highs right here. SoFi, 2053, up 7% on the day. This market is finding undervalued names that haven't run like a SoFi, and it's allocating capital to them. United Health right here, that one's also up right here, 304.79. Reddit 152, S&P 620, NVIDIA trying to get 160, and then SoFi holding on to $20. Too much money on the sidelines. That is correct. Too much money on the sidelines. Grab right there, just over $5. SoundHound up 12%. SBET, another Ethereum treasury, that one also getting some love right here. The Ethereum treasuries, they're starting to have a moment. Now, Ethereum itself is not really having that moment, although it's up about 2% on the day. But the treasuries are kind of front-running what could happen for Ethereum. And Tom Lee is now becoming the poster child of an asset that has been largely ignored by Wall Street for the past probably 2 years. And maybe, if there was anyone to pump Ethereum, I think it would be Tom Lee, because he's doing it with a lot of data and he's putting his money where his mouth is. And ultimately, if he's correct about the stablecoin thesis, so that Ethereum is going to get 50% of the gas fees from the network, stablecoins grow, then Ethereum probably catches a bid. Nubank right here up 1.53% as well. That's getting some love. SoFi, are we in the 2060s? Folks, we are in the 2060s. When it runs like this, it runs like it should be running. I mean, and it's not just specific to SoFi. Any stock, when it starts to break through all-time highs and really get volume behind it, let me check volume right now in SoFi. 13 million shares. The average volume is 65 million. So it's done a fifth of the volume in 7 minutes. I mean, that's very healthy to see. And if there's no sell side pressure, I'm sure some people are taking profits, but if there's not that many people, because people have been holding onto these shares for damn near 4 or 5 years now, they're not going to be selling at $20. I mean, this is not when you sell. This is when you either double down, you buy into strength, or you hold on and see if management can execute going into earnings. So very nice to see this with SoFi. S&P 620, S&P flat, probably is about to go red on the day. Got a bit of a red candle. Tesla right there, 298. Robinhood did get a pump to 97. No, we actually hit 98. Now it's back down to 95. So you are seeing Robinhood trying to hold on to that extra 2.5%. Oh yeah, you're right. That's not SoFi's all-time high. You're right. They didn't get to like 39 or something. All-time high. Yeah, it's in the 30s. It's when they IPO'd in 2021. Okay, so it's a 52-week high. Still have a ways to go for all-time high, but very nice to see some of this momentum. Grab right here, 507. So that one's getting a little bit of love. Reddit 152. That's red. Salesforce 270. Let's take a look at the semis. How are they doing today? By the way, Matt has SoFi in his ETF, dude. Matt just has winners. He has SoFi. I mean, Oscar was a winner, but I think he picked Oscar at 12. So Oscar at 16, still doing well. Rocket Lab, ASTS. I mean, his portfolio is just loaded up with these winners. All the semis are green except ASML, Dell, and TSM. All the other semis are green. All-time high is 28. Okay, cool. All-time high is 28 on SoFi. 28 on SoFi. All right, dude. Now, all right, how about let's do this? Put in the chat how heavy you are in SoFi. If you want to disclose, you guys know my position. It's 100 call debit spreads, 15-20 for 2026. Put in the chat, like, do we have any whales here? Do we have someone with 50,000 shares at $7? Like, put in the chat. What's your average? How many shares you have? I'll check on my options right now and show you guys how those are doing. But let me know what we got. All right, those are up 10% on the day. We have a 7-bagger, folks. We have a 7-bagger. SoFi gets to 20 or stays at 20 by January 2026. This will be my best return ever in the market. It'll be a 14-bagger, 1,400%. But this is a name that, retail has been heavily allocated to. Even if you don't follow the SoFi story that deeply, I mean, there are people that just bought SoFi a while ago and just held on to it. And, they were always growing, so there wasn't really a reason to sell outside of opportunity cost. But for those that held, the opportunity cost is not really looking like an opportunity cost right now. We got Christopher with 400 shares. We got Fan Anthony with 200 contracts at strike 22. That's doing very well. Out of the money calls that potentially might get in the money. We got Michael Wilder, 3,000 shares, average under 9. Not bad. Timothy, 2,000 at 7. Michael, 4,000. Another Michael at 10,500. Sachin has 2,000 leaps. Is that... Did you meant to say 2027 leaps, Sachin, or 2007 leaps? SoFi right there, 2065. But he is loaded up at that $20 expiration for leaps. Mr. G has 6,000 shares, 100 leaps. Michael, 7,000 shares. B-Love, 1,000 shares. Dude, we have some whales in the chat. Someone said they have 30,000 shares. Yeah, add 30,000 shares, $215 calls. All right, you guys are having a good day. You guys are having a great freaking day. Orlaith has 80,000 at 7. Keyholder, 44,000 shares. Yeah, I mean, this is a hell of a day. Hell of a day if you've been heavy in SoFi. Well-deserved. And getting the 7% pump right here. 21 doesn't sound crazy, bro. I mean, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to take profits around this range. But if you have more people that just say, hey, this is the time where the narrative has potentially shifted. The earnings growth is there, and you just stay the course. We saw it with Palantir. We saw it with Robinhood. Like, when it's making its run, you let it make its freaking run. Unless this pump is a meme pump, which I don't think it is by any sense of the imagination, you let it do its thing. And that's what SoFi is doing right here. S&P 620, AMD 136, that goes green. NVIDIA 158. NVIDIA just getting rejected at 159. It's not able to break through. Tesla as well, up 1%. It was at 300, now at 296. SoFi 2075, trying to get to 21. BTBT is up 20%. That breaks 4. Accelera broke 4 today. That's at 399 right now, down about 1%. BM&R, Tom Lee's company, up 13%, 121. 121. Big Bear AI definitely getting some momentum right here as well, up 11%. If you bought this anywhere below 7, you are getting some low. Where's Webull? I didn't sell my Webull yet. I still have it. All right, we're back to 13. I'm going down with the ship on Webull at this point. I don't care, bro. I'm just going down with the ship. Average is 14. Not buying more. If I do sell any covered calls, it might be out the money covered call, so at least we'll escape with a profit. But I'm just like, you know what? If they announced that stupid Yorkville deal and the max pain was $12.50, it's like, all right, it's whatever. So I'm holding on, and we'll see how this one plays out. Tessie 297. SoFi, she's trying, folks. She's trying. Is Oracle at 240? Oh my god, dude. Again, this is you can't, you would think Oracle would chill out a little bit. You would think after the tariffs and all these other random macro pieces of news, like Oracle, which has been up already 45% year to date, or 42% before today, would take a breather. No, it's not taking a breather. It's not. It doesn't care. I mean, NVIDIA's flat and Oracle's up. This is incredible. There's no specific Oracle news today. I think the NVIDIA upgrade is what's getting the street excited about a lot of the other semiconductors. I mean, just incredible, dude. This is a market that is becoming phenomenal. It's becoming one of those markets. Now, yes, you could argue there's froth in the market, no denying that. But we're coming up to earnings season, and financials, I think, are going to crush in the next week. And if they crush and the big tech companies can give us something to hang our hats on, S&P right there, 621 goes green. I don't see how the money on the sidelines continues to stay on the sidelines. You just can't justify to your clients giving them 4% if the S&P ends up returning 15, 20%. They're going to say, why the hell am I paying you? I could have just put my own money in the damn S&P. Why am I paying you? You can't have that happen. And a name like SoFi that hasn't really run as aggressively compared to other names, that might catch a bid by some of these fund managers that need to pick up their performance this year as well. Doug said I have deep in the money leaps on Oracle as well. Well, those should be printing today. Those should be printing today as well. Grab, yup, at $5. 50,000 shares of SoFi at $7. But I think collectively you guys have, I mean, if we add up all the numbers, I think we're close to 1 million shares in this chat on SoFi. I mean, round about 1 million shares. I mean, it's pretty incredible, dude. Pretty freaking incredible. SBET right here, that is up 20%. So that one catching a bid from an Ethereum treasury perspective, TFC, regional banks, 45.53. Duolingo, that's flat on the day. Alibaba, 108. Nubank, that's green. Delta, they have earnings in a couple of days, 3.2. Triple V's favorite, JetBlue, that stock is green, up 3.6. So that one getting some love. Lyft right here, 16.45. And then the Qs going green at 5.52. Robinhood at 95. Up $450,000 today on SoFi. Wow. Incredible. Congratulations, man. Incredible. I bought SoFi Leaps 2 weeks ago that are already up 120%. You know, my first call debit spread strategy that I utilized was actually on SoFi. It was $10, $15 spreads for January 2025. And it went up to, I was up like 30,000. I've never been up 30,000 on an option position. And then SoFi tanked by the end of 2023. And it just completely, I lost. I mean, I left with like $1,000 profit, but I have a history with leaps on this name. And then I came back September 2024 when it was still stuck at 7. And now we're here at $20, up 8.3%. All right, folks, it's trying to go for 21. It's trying to go. It's got about 20 cents away, but she is trying to go for 21. Yes, Chris is in the chat. He remembers that. Chris, dude, I think I have the text messages. I was like, Chris, dude, I'm up 30 grand. He was like, cool, sell. I was like, but if I leave it, it'll be 150 grand. And he was like, dude, just fucking sell the damn thing. You know, he's the one who taught me the call debit spread strategy. He's like, I taught you how to do this. I'm telling you, sell. And I'm like, but Chris, it only needs to get to 15 in a year. And it was at like 11. He was like, dude, sell. And then it falls to 7 for the next freaking 2 years. So yeah, should have taken profits there. But it's like that meme. You guys have seen that meme, right? It's like, I should take profits. And then that thing is like pulling the other thing. And then the caption is like, but it could 10x. It's like, that's basically the definition of what happened there. So it took a couple of years. But if you bought options at the end of last year versus at the end of 2023, I mean, you are doing phenomenally well. So we're seeing a lot of momentum right here on SoFi, $20.80. AMD right here, 136, S&P 621, NVIDIA, 158, Uber right here, 97. Coinbase getting some love, up about 1.2%. Where is Bitcoin? That's at 109. And then MSTR, 399. Oh, I got my Misty dividend yesterday, $619. They paid $1.24 a share on Misty. So if you're in Misty, yield max synthetic covered calls is their strategy. Steve has done a very good article on this. I'll link it in the chat. It takes a little long to explain it, but you guys can read that article to get a better understanding of it. They did distribute their dividends yesterday as well. Iren is running. Yup, Iren is running as well. Let me pull that up. This is the Steve article in the chat for anyone who wants to read it. Iren it was at 17 yesterday. It's at 18.11. Wow. So this thing is up almost 60%, I think. Let's see, year to date, this is up 73%. It's had a lot of momentum. I know a lot of you guys just got into this to chase it. It's been doing well. I still don't know enough about this business, but for those that believe in kind of their broader AI hyperscaler thesis, then that is what's helped momentum on the name. Where is Oscar? Oscar is up 3%. Lemonade is up 2%. Dude, this is, what's red today? I mean, Rocket Lab's red, but I mean, it hit all-time highs yesterday. So down 2% is whatever. Dell's a little red. I mean, there's not a lot of names that are red right here. Palantir's a little red, but Palantir was a green in a sea of red yesterday. So you are seeing a lot of names just catch a bid right now. I opened up my SoFi spreads on September 2024. I'm up over 700%, but I really want to avoid that short-term capital gains. I mean, dude, if your strike is at 20, which is like, I think that's what your strike, I would wait until January 2026. If you're like, so this is the thing, right? You have 6 months until 2026. And if you sell anything right now, it will count to 2025 taxes. One of the reasons I was a nervous wreck going into last year in December is because I needed Robinhood to stay above 25 for me to get the multi-six-figure profit I needed on these spreads. But I didn't want to take the profits in 2025, even though it was above 25 or 2024, because I didn't want to pay the taxes. I want to pay the taxes in 2026. So I have to take the profits in 2025 in January. And thankfully, Robinhood was above that price. But Robinhood was like $35. So it was like healthily in the money. I think if SoFi gets anywhere near 25 in the next couple months, which it looks like the potential is possible, unless it, just tanks back to 15 or 16, 17, then I think you wait until 2026. I mean, I would. I mean, that's what I'm doing, right? Everyone has to have their own financial situation and figure it out. But I do not want to take what would be a $50,000 profit at the end of 2025 when I could wait one day and then all that 50,000 gets pushed into 2026 or 2027 for taxes. Now, granted, if SoFi tanks going into the end of the year, I lose all that money. So that's the risk, right? SoFi has to be at $20 by January 2026. But I think the risk reward here is not that crazy. Any news on SFRM? No, this is a Palantir company. Well, it's not a Palantir company, but Palantir owns a little bit of equity in this. I don't know why they've been running like crazy. I mean, one of you guys probably knows better than me. I think part of it's hype, but I also think part of it can be, I don't know. It could be maybe some announcements they came out with. But dude, this is like a $200 million company. Like this is just one of those names that's catching a bid most likely. And as a result, it's getting momentum. So I'm not chasing this, but I don't think there's anything fundamental here that's causing it to be green. Nebius right here. That one's flat. CoreWeave, dude, people were not happy with that freaking Core Scientific deal. CoreWeave right here down 2.5%. I was reading some reports this morning and the analysts were just like, dude, we freaking hate this deal. Like they just did not like the structure, the terms of the deal. Core Scientific right here up 1.25%. But that one was not one that the street got excited about. Can you see if the SoFi shorts are folding? So the only update I have on SoFi shorts is that it's still 148 million shares sold short. I think we'll get data pretty soon because that was last updated like a week ago. So it probably in the next couple of days, we'll get the official numbers. Some of you guys maybe have the real-time tracking. You can see it. But I mean, I don't think the shorts are covering here. I think you're going to need a breakout to 25 to get the shorts to give you that gamma squeeze. I don't think they're afraid that SoFi went from 13 to 20. I think they're thinking, okay, this is just SoFi being SoFi. They'll have earnings, triple beat. They'll have a triple beat, and then the street will disrespect them, and then it'll tank. And historically, they've been correct. I think you break above 25, that's when things get fun. Because then that 13% short float might go down to like, I don't know, 7%. So you have half of that short float covering, aka buying their shares that they have to cover for their shorts. Then it could get really fun. But ultimately we have to see how that plays out. And look, one thing the shorts do know about is that if interest rate cuts do end up coming down, I just don't think you want to be short SoFi in that position. Robinhood right here, 93.91, NVIDIA 159. And if we actually get these cuts by JPAL and SoFi still short almost 15%, this could be a fun rest of year for SoFi. It really could. And if they accelerate tech growth, like Galileo growth, towards the end of the year, which, Noto is not guided for that, but who knows? Maybe they surprise. You know what SoFi should really do now? What SoFi should really do is host an investor day. If this thing gets from 20 to 25 in December in their offices in California, they should do an investor day. They should invite Tanner and just have a full-on live stream talking about their 10-year vision. They don't even have to introduce any new products. All they have to do is get a PowerPoint, and Noto and Crystal Point and all these guys just have to talk for about 20 minutes on stage. That would be the icing on the cake for SoFi if they do it towards the end of the year. So who knows? This could be exciting towards the latter half, but it's ultimately up to SoFi to continue the execution. App 11 right here, 351, 1.58%. Circle is down about 3%. Yeah, Liz Young at a meet and greet. You're going to get some people that want to show up to that SoFi event. That's all I'm saying. You're going to get some people that want to show up to that. S&P 500 right here, 621. NVIDIA at 159. Christopher Patel, good morning.
Good morning, dude. Congrats to all the SoFi people, man. I think the stock is running hard because of all the student loan refinancing issues that are starting to kind of come up. I have some personal experience on this because my wife is due to have her student loans forgiven in February of next year, but it may not happen. And it's crazy because she's been paying for the last 9.5 years and all of her income, everything is certified. But the Trump administration, if you just look up the data, they're being really hard with it. And so a lot of people who were expecting public student loan forgiveness and all these other programs, they may not qualify. And they
is it also based on income? Is she just making too much to qualify?
No. So she makes a good amount of money, but she pays based on her income. So like the way that like your repayments are calculated is even though me and her like are married, we file separately. So they only take her into consideration, not my income.
Hmm.
So this way, like she has a lower monthly payment. Now the thing is, we could theoretically just pay the entire thing off, but she's already been paying for almost 9 years, so it wouldn't make sense for us to just pay the entire thing off, and then we miss out on the public student loan forgiveness because she's been working at a nonprofit, which is a hospital for a long period of time. So it's kind of like a situation where I mean, me and her are fortunate that we have the money, but there's a lot of people that don't have the money to keep going with some of these things. So they may end up refinancing with SoFi.
Right.
If
So,
we
so
get some
you
better.
you think the lower rates and this potential Trump public student loan forgiveness stuff could be basically a massive tailwind, and the streets recognizing that right now?
Wait, say that again?
I'm saying basically you're saying the Trump student loan forgiveness stuff, along with rates coming down, is a massive tailwind for refinancing, and the streets just pulling forward that growth.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a massive tailwind for like the interest loans getting cut means that net interest income would actually decline, right? So remember, the banks make money on the spread between deposits and interest that they can generate risk free. So if you're able to, give SoFi, let's say $100, and they take that $100 and lend it to someone else for 7, 8, 9%, that means that they're making a margin on how much they're paying you for that deposit versus how much they're lending out to someone. So if interest rates come down, net interest income tends to go the other direction, right? So you're not making as much money on the spread. Now, of course, there's a good amount of spread that you can reduce on the interest on the what is that thing called? Paying to your depositors.
Right.
Because let's say like right now you're charging 7% and you're paying your depositor 4%, so you're making a 3% spread between the two. And let's say interest rates come down, that 7% that you have, it'll go down to like let's say 6% for all new loans, and you'll pay your depositors 2%. So you're maintaining the margin, which is good. The other thing is if you have a lot of loans on the balance sheet that already been lent out at a higher interest rate, that means that a lot of people are going to look to refinance lower. And the thing is, a lot of companies like SoFi, they make a ton of money on loan origination fees, right? So if you have a mortgage, a lot of people are like, oh, look, I have a 7% mortgage. I want to refinance to a 5% mortgage. Well, turns out, there's a lot of closing costs and everything associated with that. And banks typically make a pretty good amount of money on the what is it called? On the service fees, so.
Okay, so SoFi's running. A lot of these other names are running. It's hard to find kind of a red name today. What is your take on the macro right now? Because we had these Trump Liberation 2.0, Liberation Day 2.0 tariffs introduced yesterday. Markets were down a little bit. Now the markets are green. It's kind of like they don't care. Do you think we're resilient enough to get through that? Do you think the market's calling the bluff? Or do you think there's a little bit of caution that people should have in the next couple months?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Do you think people should basically be a little bit more cautious for the next couple months around the market? Or do you think because Trump introduced these Liberation Day 2.0 tariffs yesterday and the market's green the day after, it's kind of like the market just doesn't care?
I mean, the volatility is like, right now from a what is that called? Fear and greed perspective. We're already at some high levels. That doesn't mean the market can't keep running, right? The market, if we have good earnings, then the market is going to keep doing its thing. I think the bigger thing is a lot of companies that have international exposure. They're going to do well because they're, the currency for us, the US dollar, is down. And so if they're transacting in a foreign currency, that means that their earnings is going to look kind of boosted, right? Because remember, all the stuff that they have, they're going to have to convert and they bring it back here as US dollars. So that's something to keep in mind. So earnings growth could be positive, but there's so many moving parts to it. And then the Trump tariffs kind of bring some uncertainty into the markets as well. So there's definitely like challenges all around. I'm personally just being very neutral about it. I'm not going to be like heavily investing in anything right now. I'm not going to like sell everything. Yeah, sometimes it's better just to let the markets do its thing. I think
Well,
one of the
speaking of not selling anything, Trump yesterday said 25% flat tariff on Japan. And then today, literally a minute ago, the US and Japan agreed to continue vigorous talks, which means that 25% is probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like every day, the news is changing, and there's volatility up in the air. The one thing that we can all somewhat safely rely on is the taco trade, which is that Trump always chickens out, right? So the thing is, though, you have to be down in order for him to chicken out. So sometimes that's like the thing in Wall Street, which is if things crash, then Trump will chicken out and he'll kind of just reverse his stance. The question is, what is the threshold? And I think the threshold is getting smaller because I think before everyone's like, oh my God, is he going to flip? And at what point is he going to flip? Like, is the S&P going to have to be down 20%? Now people are like, oh, if the S&P is down 10%, I'm going to start buying in this way I don't miss out on the dip again.
Right.
So I think a lot of people that were buying at the time we're doing that, so any dip right now is getting bought up.
Are you still, what are you buying right now? If you're buying anything?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
You're staying
right now there's just the market's kind of up there, and like the way that you make money is you buy things at a discount. You don't buy things when things are riding high. You buy them when no one wants to buy them, and sometimes the best thing you could do is just be patient. United Healthcare Group is probably a position that I have, but the thing is I already have too much exposure, so I'm not going to buy like I bought some yesterday, but not like holy crap, like a giant amount,
Yeah. Right.
I took the money that I got from Webull and I just kind of put it to the side. I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens if we do get a sell-off, in the equities and it's an unjustified sell-off, then I'll start looking for deals again.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Last question for you, Chris. Meta and Apple's AI executive left to Meta yesterday. Any thoughts in general around what Meta is doing? And do you think this could hurt their earnings going into Q2?
I mean, this is an arms race, man. An arms race. They had this sort of thing happen in 2021. Remember when they were just hiring everyone they could out of school so that you were kind of denying the other person what is that called? Access to these smart people. So
they were hoarding engineers, even if the engineers weren't doing anything.
Yeah. And it might be a very similar thing in that they're like, okay, if we don't take the other guy's top talent out, then then they're just gonna run away with it. So it's kind of like a kind of a two-way situation, right? Where it's like, one, we need the talent to boost our own growth prospects, but we also kind of want to slow the other guys down. So it's kind of like a double benefit. And if you have the cash flow, that's good. I mean, right now, if you're an engineer, if you're working with Meta, OpenAI, it's still up in the air whether or not you're actually gonna get a huge amount of compensation because their structure is still nonprofit. They're not a public company. And so people are nervous versus, hey, I'm going to guarantee you $100 million,
Right. Right.
Like you're basically setting someone up for their entire life by doing that. And, people have personal responsibilities. At the end of the day, we're all human. So, yeah.
All right. There you go. Chris's Twitter right there in the chat. Chris.
Yeah. By the way, about the student loans thing about my wife, look, honestly, I would rather just pay it off because the net benefit is actually so small at this point because she's paid over $80,000 in interest charges on $200,000 that she borrowed since like 2014 before she met me. All right. So she's paid $80,000. If they forgive her student loans, quote unquote, if they forgive it, that's still $200,000 that gets added to her income. And at the tax bracket she's in right now, she would end up having to pay $50,000 on top of it. So it was almost be like the total that she paid was 200,000 minus 80 plus 40. So it ends up being like a $40,000 net benefit to her, And like I said, she took them out way before. So for me right now, I'm fully expecting just to pay the entire thing off, regardless whether or not they say, oh yeah, we'll forgive it or not. I just feel bad for a lot of people who went with this program, thinking that, hey, after 10 years, their loans are going to be forgiven. A lot of people have been working at nonprofits that don't pay a lot of money. People work in rural hospitals that don't typically cover wages that are very high. So I think everyone's personal decisions, come around. I don't have any student loans. I never got student loans. I was also in the military, and I still have my what is it called, SGLI benefits. So it's like like I said, everyone's got to tackle their own situation. I mean, you still have your student loans, right?
I have $4,500 left.
Yeah, I mean, you could pay them off, but a lot of people, they just want to keep their student. Like I know a friend of mine, I asked him, like, hey, why don't you, like, what are you doing about the student loan thing? He's like, I'm never going to pay it off. I'm like, what? Why? He's like, because I get more in the market. Why should I pay the government this money? And it basically disappears. I'm getting what, 6%? Like, I think his student loans are like 6% right now, which the interest he can write against his taxes, versus if he has that same money invested in the market, makes a crap ton more return.
Yeah.
Then it's like, what? Like, why would I pay my student loan off? Well, okay, Uncle Sam, collect your 6% and shut the fuck up about it.
Yeah. That's why I could pay the $4,500 off right now, but it's just like, I'd rather do $500 a month and use the rest of the money in the markets,
Exactly. Right. I think that's one of the things. I was talking to my brother about this too. He had a really low mortgage and he paid it off, and he's like, yeah, I just don't want to deal with the stress of it. I'm like, yeah, but on the other hand, you're making like good 20-30% per year in the market, like with some of the fixed income stuff and all this other things you have. So I guess the thing is opportunity cost, right?
Yeah.
The minute you start paying down certain debts, especially if people realize like there's actually a difference between bad debt and good debt, you just have to figure out how to do that, and realize like, okay, what kind of risk am I willing to accept?
It's like my Tesla, dude. I got a 0% APR. Why the hell would I pay, like, I make a $500 payment? Why would I pay $25,000 right now? I could.
Yeah.
Why,
Like, I have a mortgage on my condo. It's a 3% mortgage. Like, Rocket Mortgage called me a bunch of times. Oh, do you want to refinance? Like, get out of here. Like, call me back in 20 years.
The mistake I made? I paid off one of my last semesters, $15,000 in February 2020. So I gave Rutgers $15,000. And then we didn't have to pay student loans for the next 5 years. And that $15,000, if I'd even put it into any junk in the market, much less something quality like a Tesla, it would have 20x'd because, COVID was crazy in terms of the stock market. So there is an opportunity cost sometimes to paying all in once. And the reason I paid $15,000 was because I didn't want to deal with the stress of the loans, right? So I just paid it off all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. No one is making 20-30% reliably. I guess if that's how, if you think you can craft a portfolio that makes less than that, great. If you don't think you can get that kind of return, that's fine too. I mean, like I said, it's all, what I mean by that is if you average it out, right? If you average out the total returns over like the last 5 years, you've made what, like close to 5x, 6x on your money?
It's definitely more than 20-30%.
Yeah. So, and if you average that out over the next 10 years, it's all about opportunity cost. I'm not saying that you can consistently make, like 5x returns every year, just 20% on average. If you use the right strategies, if you're invested in the right companies, it's not that unusual,
Yeah.
So, yeah, especially at the small scale that you are. So, yeah.
All right, Chris, appreciate you. We will talk to you later.
Oh, by the way, research for people who are asking about, what is that thing called? About getting out of a position like that without paying the taxes, look up a zero cost collar, because that'll help. Like,
that's an option strategy, I imagine.
Yeah, if you use an option strategy called a zero cost collar, then basically it's a neutral strategy where you're limiting your upside and you're also limiting your downside. But what you can do is use it to lock in that profit up until the expiration. And so now if you're at the highest income tax brackets from all the short-term gains, then you don't have to worry about it, because then you'll get the long-term cap gains after that point of expiration, right? So this way you're not in a situation where you're forced to sell at currently to get the money out, and then when you get the money out, you have to pay 35% taxes plus whatever your state is, so because it goes in as ordinary income. So like I said, look up a zero cost collar, and yeah, use that at your as an advantage.
All right. Sounds good. Appreciate you, Chris. Talk to you
Later.
later.
Good one.
Later. Okay, so just a little update for you guys. I am leaving at 11. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter stream today because I have that meeting with the hotel in Miami to see if we can book it for the Miami meetup. And the woman who connected me to Miami, to the hotel, she's best friends with the owner. She just texted me because she hopped into the stream. And she said, Amit, is this a cry for help? Do I really need to get you a stylist? It's not a crazy fit. It is a jersey over a hoodie. But it's like unilaterally, everyone's like, you need help with freaking learning how to dress, which I do. I need a stylist. I get it. But it's a jersey over it. Like, this is not controversial. This is like, but yes, I need a stylist. I get it, dude. I get it. That, part of moving out and being on my own and over the next coming months is I legit want to hire a consultant. And I want to figure out, how do I dress? Because I've never learned how to dress my whole life. I don't know how to dress. I just don't get it. I don't have the fashion sense. I can talk. I can't dress. Some people know how to dress. Some people understand color coordination. Dude, I got to show you some pictures from me in freshman year of high school when I when you become a freshman in high school, you start becoming a little bit more independent. You start making your own choices and stuff. I mean, the outfits I was like, you think this is bad? You think this is bad? You guys got to see some pictures from 2012 because they were pretty aggressive, but eventually we'll figure out how to dress and hopefully that works. Amazon right here. Adobe is estimating US online sales will hit 23.8 billion during Amazon's 96-hour Prime Day. It used to be 24 hours. A couple years ago, they ended up making it like 3 to 4 days because they realized there's just way too much demand. They're estimating 30% increase from last year. Clothing discounts are deepest at 24%. BNPL, buy now, pay later, Affirm, etc. The use of that is expected to rise to 8% of spending, which is going to be massive for Affirm. 75% of Americans now have access to a Prime account, which is insane. We haven't looked at Affirm in a long time. That stock right here, 70. How much is that? I think that's up like 20% year to date. That is up 13% year to date. So this one, a little bit under the radar, but buy now, pay later has been doing pretty well, or has been as an industry catering very well. Where's Hoodie? Is Hoodie dumping today? 93.75. Yeah, we got to 98, dude. I think we got to 98 off the hype of the Robinhood event. Vlad did announce this morning that we are going to be having a third event in Vegas. I will be there. So if you are in Vegas, you might see me, but I will be there September 9th. And yeah, it should be fun. Maybe the street pumped off that. Vlad was also on Bloomberg this morning. We have a little bit more of his interview that we'll watch and we'll finish. But basically, he addressed the whole OpenAI stuff. Outside of that, I don't know why it kind of ran today. We got the upgrades yesterday, so it wouldn't be like street upgrades this morning. SoFi right here. Are we still at 20? We're still at 20, 2050. Tried to make a run for 21 at 2089. Could not break through. Tesla 300 to 296. Palantir 137. And then Robinhood right there, 93.50. So there you go. Dude, this is how my 4-year-old dresses. Okay. Like this, the disrespect. People think it's an easy job to just talk in front of the camera all day. You have to have the mental stability to deal with this every day. Every day. You just have to. You just have to. Otherwise, you're not going to survive. SoundHound, 16%. Wow. I don't know. Is there any news on SoundHound, bro? Why is this one getting a bid? Let me see. No, technicals. All technicals. All I see is charts. No fundamental news on this one. So this one's breaking out likely from the TA. Do you have a mirror? Okay, that was a funny one. I can't lie. That was a funny one. that was a funny one. That was a good one. I cannot deny that is funny. That was a good one. Short squeeze. Yeah, they are about 20% short, right? So that could be theoretically creating a squeeze. McDonald's deal. Is that new though? They've had that for a while, right? If I'm not wrong. McDonald's, that one's slightly down. I know they have the Wendy's one. Is that new? McDonald's, SoundHound? I feel like that's an old deal. Yeah, that's from December 7th, bro. That's a while ago. So this one seems more TA-ish. Why is Google dumping? I don't know. By the way, Joseph Carlson put out a tweet yesterday asking Google or Amazon. I'm going to put the same post in our chat in a second. And people are split, bro. People are split. Well, okay, it was split when I watched. It was like 50-50. Now it's 54-46 on Google, Amazon. But I think people are just so upset. They have the same question. Why the hell is Google not running, given all the bull cases on Google? And it's partly because people think there are better opportunities out there in the marketplace. So I'm going to ask the same question. Let's do timeline 1 year from now. 1 year from now, which one does better, Google or Amazon? I'm going to say Google, bro. Like, it's too, like, Amazon's amazing, but Google's cheap to a degree that it's hard to even explain if you just assume basic multiples. Amazon's not that cheap. Google's trading at 17 times forward earnings. Amazon's trading at like 27. There's a difference here. So now if the Google narrative dies out in terms of search, then yeah, I guess Google's cheap for a reason. But I think Google outperforms Amazon in a year. I really do. And I don't think it's hard to make that judgment, assuming that their earnings don't absolutely shit the bed when it comes to search, which I would hope is not the case. By the way, speaking of Google and search, here's a new chart from SimilarWeb, which is a data aggregation platform on website traffic. Google is still the number one website on the planet, 19.6% of overall traffic share. YouTube is 7%. Google collectively gets 25% of the overall traffic on the planet. Facebook's number 3, Instagram's number 4, ChatGPT is number 5. ChatGPT, this is actually the first month where it dropped month over month. For the past 5 months, it's increased. This is the first month in the past 5 months where it's decreased month over month. Maybe some people like Gemini, and maybe they started leaving GPT to go to Gemini. I mean, again, this is the first month on basically the entire year where they haven't grown month over month, still growing like crazy, but occupying 1.3% of the entire internet traffic. It's just potentially maybe some people are more interested in the other AI products. And if that is Gemini over Grok, which by the way, Grok V4 is coming out on Wednesday, then maybe that could explain a little bit of the traffic boost on Google and decline on ChatGPT. Google right here, 174.91. 50%, dude, the poll is 50-50. Literally 50-50. 50% of you guys say Google, 50% of you guys say Amazon. Reddit right here did get upgraded to 150 today. They are down 3%, but they did get an upgrade over the past couple of weeks. They got a bunch of 150s. But they are red. The regular Joe is loving AI assist on Google search. Dude, yesterday when we were getting all the tariff updates on the market close, Indonesia, Bosnia, etc., I started searching Google, how much trade does the US do with Indonesia? And dude, AI overviews are amazing. Like, they're very quick. They give you exactly what you need. You don't need to go to ChatGPT and then like load up a new website, all this stuff. You just like, so those AI overviews are phenomenal. And I could see myself using it like for a very long time. The problem is Google's not making money off me doing that. Google, I think, is using that as a Trojan horse to say, hey, Amit, you like these AI overviews so much. Why don't you try Gemini? And that's where I'm like, but I don't like Gemini. And I end up going back to Grok. And so I think they're going to tout on the earnings call that, hey, we're getting like 2 billion people a day searching on the AI overviews, which is amazing. But that's not going to contribute to the bottom line, I would imagine, off those 2 billion searches in a meaningful way. And so I think that is going to be the broader question on how the market thinks of Google. ELF is down. Yeah, Ulta got upgraded this morning. ELF right here down about 4%. Not sure why that one's getting hit. Ulta got upgraded to like 550. That one's flat. Estee Lauder, that one, which I don't think Michael Burry is still in this thing, bro. I really don't. That one's at 85. That one's done very well since the 60s. But that one's also down about 0.5%. You just made a bear case for Google? Well, dude, there's plenty of bear cases for Google. I'm not being oblivious to that. I'm just saying in the face of the valuation, it just feels like it's a heavy discount for a product that's going to be part of our lives forever. You know, like YouTube's not going anywhere. Gmail's not going anywhere. Now, granted, I mean, I don't know if agentic AI becomes realized in a different format, either through Meta or through Apple, if they ever get their stuff together, maybe through OpenAI, and people genuinely start using Google less, not just Google search, but like Google products less, like Sheets and Gmail and all this stuff. I mean, yeah, who knows? Maybe it does stop playing as big of a role, but I think for the foreseeable future, I don't see that happening. I just really don't see that happening. Yeah, so Gemini did integrate into their 365 Office equivalent. So like Sheets, Docs, all that stuff is now AI native. And you would just imagine that their distribution helps them build out a user base that eventually is going to be paying a lot for that. Every month they have that $200 subscription, or at least be willing to sit through ads and get access to those types of products as well. So that's what we got in the context of Google. Do we have any macro data today? Let me see. Do we have anything? We get consumer inflation expectations at 11. We did get used car prices, which, it's actually ironic we do get used car prices because I am selling one of my dad's used cars, and I was on CarMax today trying to get some quotes. Dude, they offered like 15 grand. I was shocked. I was like, dude, that's incredible. So it does seem like that used car market is heating up a little bit. So here's what we have. The street expected used car prices to come in at 4%. They came in at 6.3 year over year. Month over month, the street thought it would be negative 1.4, came in at 1.6. So we do have a little bit more of an expensive used car market, which kind of makes sense because if you don't want to buy a new car because the rates are too high, you would probably go to the used car market. But if so many people go to the used car market, then obviously, prices would go up. And so that is some macro data we have this morning. Let's get an update on Trump and the tariffs, and then we will keep going from there.
So U.S. trading partners are now delayed until August 1st at the earliest. And at the same time, the president is also upping the pressure on a number of those trading partners. He sent letters to 14 of them yesterday, informing them of the tariff rate that he'll place on all of their exports to the U.S. unless they strike a deal before the end of the month. You can see most of them here. The rates range from about 25% for larger trading partners like Japan and South Korea to 40% on the high end for countries that included Laos and Myanmar. And for the most part, these rates closely match or are lower than the reciprocal rates the president announced back in April. So the truly new piece here then is at least a few more weeks to negotiate. And countries have been responding overnight. Japan just announced that its tariff negotiators spoke with the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent this morning. So we expect more talks and more proposals exchanged in the coming days and weeks. President Trump, meanwhile, was also asked how firm that August 1st deadline is. Here's his response.
No, I would say firm, but not 100% firm. If they call up and they say, would like to do something a different way, we're going to be open to that. But essentially,
dude, this is all negotiating, bro. This is not firm at all. Like, he's literally just trying to get them to come to the table because they haven't come over the past couple months and try to get a deal done at this point. And it probably gets delayed from August 1st. I mean, maybe it gets implemented to an extent, but he does not want to tariff these countries 30%. He knows that's not good for him or those countries. It seems like he's just trying to get a deal done.
actually, that's the way it is right now.
He went on to say the letters were more or less the final offer, and that, quote, we are always looking to negotiate something that's fair. So, guys, the window is definitely still open here for these rates to change once again. Guys.
Megan, it seemed like the tone at the presser, the briefing yesterday, was what happened to 90 deals in 90 days. And that notion that in April, the phones were, quote, ringing off the hook. That's something that Bessent actually did a bit of a U-turn on over the weekend.
This is, I think, a matter of reality sort of catching up with the optimism that we were seeing in April. We've talked several times about how hard it is to negotiate trade deals, how long negotiations typically take. 90 deals in 90 days was always going to be a pie-in-the-sky idea and not something that was all that likely. So that's catching up to them now. They're recognizing that, especially with so much else on their plate, they've been distracted by Congress negotiations, Israel-Iran negotiations, and everything else. They haven't had the bandwidth to negotiate the way they want to. This is a recognition of that. They're saying, we still mean business, we still want these rates, and that's what we saw in the letters yesterday. They still want to keep talking. But even some of the countries that are responding, I think it was South Korea that said there was simply insufficient time to negotiate a deal. We're also seeing countries not really backing down and not giving in to the deadline pressure, kind of different from what we saw in the first term. But a lot of these bigger trading partners, China, Japan, South Korea, among them, saying their national interest is still in the top priority. They're not going to just take what Japan called simplistic compromises as the easy way out. So that means these negotiations just take longer than the administration thought.
Megan, of course, I found the Southeast Asian countries of note, Cambodia, Bangladesh, I guess not really Southeast, but still in that region when it comes to retail and manufacturing. Because if you don't go to China, we know there has been some shifting. Vietnam, of course, is very, very high up there. And that was sort of a previous discussion point here in the trade deals. But then the Cambodia, the Bangladeshs of the world, still relatively high. But I also imagine if it's a true negotiation, they may not have that much to give the United States. I don't believe that we do a lot of exporting to those countries either, right?
We don't. They're not major trading partners, but of course they have major impact for any companies that are based there, headquartered there, and that matters, of course, a lot for retail. But you're right. These are countries that don't have huge economies, and while we tend to buy a fair amount from them, they really don't buy a lot from the United States. We are seeing some of the smaller countries say they're looking for ways to buy more from the United States. I believe it was Thailand that said they have new proposals now to try to reduce the trade deficit with the U.S. within 6 to 7 years. So that means they're finding ways to look at something they can buy in the U.S. But when they don't have a huge economy, there's not that much that they can do to try to reduce it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those deficits, going to be tough to turn in those cases. Megan, thank you very much. Let's turn back to the markets.
All right, so market's getting a little bit of some red right here amid Drew on his outfit last night, dude. These are, after the mirror one, I feel like you guys got to try better than that. The mirror one was too good. The mirror one that said freaking, do you even have a mirror? Like, you guys got to be better than that at this point. You guys got to be better. But Robinhood right here, 92.91. That's red. Palantir goes down 2%. Tessie still holding 298. SoFi, are we at 20? So, all right, SoFi is giving up a little bit. Still holding 20, but definitely giving up about 3% from its highs. S&P goes red. NVIDIA about to go red. Grab goes red. Reddit goes very red, 4%. Amazon goes red, 1%. Yeah, kind of 1030 slamish. 1030 slamish, it feels like. Nate, are you going for a job at Disney Kids? Oh my gosh. You aren't going outside in that, are you? I was planning to wear this all day, and yeah, I was going to go outside. And I mean, goodness. All right, these are getting better. These are getting better. It looks like he gets dressed with two left hands. Oh my gosh. All right, these are getting better. All right, so I think we're getting a little bit of a slam. I don't think there's any macro data that came out. Trump didn't say anything. I don't see any tweets right here. Truth Social, we don't have any tweets. We have the Japan news that came out, which again, I think the market was waiting for the US and the Japan to say that, hey, they're still talking. Iran's foreign minister to visit Saudi Arabia to meet with officials on bilateral relations and peace and security of the region. An Iranian foreign minister spokesperson said on X, that's good. It's not bad news. Yeah, I mean, I kind of think it's kind of just 1030, people taking profits here. I don't see anything fundamental. I mean, again, we're barely red. I mean, S&P is basically flat, but we are down from the high day. Even Oracle, which was pushing 242, that's at 237. That's down about 2%, or up 2%, but down from before. I don't know what's going on with Surf Air. I think that's momentum. There's no fundamental stuff that I saw on Surf Air. 28%. I mean, look, that's squeezy. That's very squeezy. Let me see if there's a short float on this. Then we'll check Big Bear. Surf Air Mobility. That stock is, yeah, dude. I mean, come on, bro. 68% short. Are you kidding me? Of course it's squeezing. It got a little bit of social media hype. People started buying in. I really don't think they announced anything that crazy. Palantir does own some shares. I think 20% of the company. And now it's pumping. I mean, if 70% of the float is short, yeah, those people have to cover on a day like this. I mean, or you risk it just going higher. Now, potentially the shorts might say this is a pump and dump. This is absolutely going to fall, so they're not going to cover. But if it keeps going, that could cause it. Wait, 7% short? Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. I'm so wrong. I read. So 7% short, but it increased 68%. You're right. I read that wrong. 7% short, but it increased 68%, which is still pretty aggressive, bro. A more than half increase over the past 2 weeks for a company that has what? 10 million shares outstanding. How much is their float? Maybe a little bit more than that. I think it's 20 million. Yeah, that's still a decent chunk that is sold short. Yeah, 25 million shares. 7% of that is short. So I think that's why it's squeezing up 30%. Big Bear, which also is short. Big Bear, that's up 9%. Let me check the short float on Big Bear. I think it's like 15%, if I'm not wrong. BBAI. That is 27%. Okay, so that one a bit more aggressive than Surf Air. Basically 30% of the float is short on Big Bear, which is why that's getting hit. Short float, for those that don't know, is basically the amount of shares that people, short sellers, are borrowing in order to sell short, which is a strategy to bet on the decline of a company. And so if you borrow a share before the stock goes down, when the stock goes down, you give back the share and you pocket the difference. If the stock goes up and eventually you have to give back the shares that you borrowed, you have to give them back at the current price, which means you have to buy them in the open market. And if you were short SoFi at 13, which means you need SoFi to be below 13 for your short to be profitable, and SoFi's at 20, and you got to deliver those shares at 20, you got to pay $7 a share. I mean, you're in a bit of trouble here. And if there's 148 million of those shorts, or of those shares in SoFi that are sold short, potentially sold short from like 7 or 8 too, right? That could create a little bit of a squeeze. And a squeeze just means everyone has to cover their short. So they have to buy the shares on the open market. And if everyone's doing it at once, you get a lot of buying pressure, which is different from, it's different from buying a put. When you buy a put, you are buying insurance, essentially, that the stock will fall. And if the stock does fall, the value of your put contract, which is an options contract, should go up. So if you have like a 100,000 share SoFi position, it's not crazy to say I'm going to buy 500 puts, because if SoFi does go down, I'm going to be losing. For every dollar SoFi goes down, I'm going to be down $100,000. But if my puts go up at a certain alpha against the decline per dollar on the stock, theoretically I could hedge my. This is what hedge funds do, right? They will be super long a name, but they will have enough of a hedge against it, aka a put position, to be able to protect them, or a covered call position, or a variety of different strategies. But if you're shorting, you're doing a strategy that's a lot more aggressive. Your losses can be infinite, whereas on a put, if you pay $500 for a put contract, if the stock just keeps going up and the put becomes worthless, you lose that $500. And if you're long the stock, you kind of don't care, because like, okay, I lost 500, but my stock is going up, so I paid 500 was just the cost of insurance to be able to make sure that my overall position, even though it's not as green as I want it to be, it's green enough, even with the $500 loss on that put contract. But if you're short and the stock goes up, you've got a bit of an issue. You've got a bit of an issue in order to pay back those shares. It's not just a loss on the premium, it's an infinite loss theoretically until you cover. Now, HIMS is 35% short, $49. The shorts have been right if they started shorting at 65 ever since the Novo stuff. But if you've been shorting since like 25, 30, which is when most of them really piled in, you've been wrong. So you got HIMS right there, 49. That's up about 1.3% on the day. Hi, Amit. I thought you were making breakfast for your grandmother with an apron this morning when I got here. You look so funny. That was a good one. I'm not going to lie. Wasn't a bad one. But is this really an apron, bro? It's a jersey. It's an apron's kind of funny, dude. If I go downstairs and my grandma asks me why am I wearing an apron, that would be hilarious, bro. By the way, Tesla right here, 300. So in Indian, in a lot of you guys that have either had Indian food before or are Indian or from that part of the world, that one of the pieces of food that we eat most of the time is called roti. And to make roti, I'm sure so many people in the chat have made roti before or have eaten it before. Someone has to make it, right? And so my grandmother literally forced me yesterday. She was like, "You can't have a wife without knowing how to make this." And she forced me for 30 minutes to learn how to make it. Let's just say I'm not meant to be in the kitchen, bro. I got so frustrated. I could not. It was sticking to my hands, and it's like I cannot believe my mom for the past 30 years has been doing this. Like, I never learned how to actually make it. It was the most frustrating process ever. Like, all I wanted to do was like not do that. And it's a type of bread. I don't even know exactly how to describe it, but it's flour compiled together, and then like you kind of it comes in a circle, a shape. Let's just say I did not have a circle, bro. It looked like a freaking butterfly. This is what a roti is supposed to look like. And Indians eat this with everything. This is like your dinner. I mean, you eat this with vegetables, and this is what I grew up on. I don't really eat this that much anymore. I mean, like I've diversified a lot of my food, but yeah, she like forced me to learn it. And I was optimistic going into it. And then I was like, dude, like I suck at like, this is so bad, bro. At one point she got frustrated. She's the nicest, she's the sweetest person ever. She was just like, dude, you're not good at this. I was like, I'm trying. I suck. I'd rather make fettuccine. That one's easier. That one's way easier. So my mom used to beat me with the roti rolling pin, dude. That is a running joke in Indian culture. This is the rolling pin. It's not just Indian though. I mean, a lot of you from your culture probably have seen this thing before. Look, I never got beat by this, but I know, I have some friends who didn't have the nicest parents. But yeah, this might bring back some memories for people who did have to deal with this. Tesla right here at 301, NVIDIA 159, Robin at 92.50, and then pound here 137. But yeah, I'm trying. I personally want to learn how to cook more now as well. Like I want to be able to say I can, make more than fettuccine pasta, because I know how to make that. Like I made that many times, but I sucked, bro. I was so bad. It was so freaking bad. Are both your parents Indian? Yes, both of them are Indian. Why is FICO down 8%? I don't know, dude. This one had a nasty move ever since the Fannie Mae news came out around going private. And yeah, that's weird, bro. That's a big move on Fair Isaac. That's a big move. It was already down a lot year to date, and then it recovered kind of. It went to 1480, came back to like 1780. It was at 2200 in the beginning of the year. Now it's back at 1735. So there you go. Why sound down so much? Again, I don't know. This one's just been, I think, running on TA 14%. Where's Tom Lee? BMNR. Wow, 20%, dude. People really believe in this Ethereum treasury stuff. It's green. It's freaking green. Deanna says, I'm Korean and we got chased with a spatula. See, we all like, if you come from that part of the world, we all have our different things that we got chased with. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Rebecca says, yesterday I found your channel. Rebecca, thank you for being here. I know a lot of you guys found it because of Tom Lee and the interview. So thank you for being here. If you're new here, we do a market open and close every single day. And I don't always dress like this, but when I do, you get to have a very energetic chat that gets their morning coffee by, some people like certain levels of roast on their coffee. I think some people just come to the channel and they get their roast from roasting me. That's their morning coffee. That is their morning coffee. For those that are asking for the Miami meetup, again, I'm still finalizing details on that. I have a meeting at 11 in about 20 minutes, and I will let you guys know how that meeting goes. But this is the form in the chat. You can sign up right there. And hopefully August 23rd, Saturday, is what we're looking at for the meetup. But I will get you a lot more details in the coming days. Okay, let's see what else we got. Let's see what else do we have. Amazon. Who's buying something on Prime today? Who's actually like taking advantage of it? I was looking at the deals last night. It is, dude, they're selling like a 50-inch TV for like $200. It used to be $450. I was like, okay, these are some actually really good deals. So let me know in the chat if you are taking advantage of Prime today and you're buying. Rebecca says, I found your channel. I didn't even know who Tom Lee was. Okay. I love it. This is why you go long Google. It's the best algorithm in the world. It's the best algo in the world. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for being here and being part of the channel regardless. So thank you for being here. Buying a trampoline. Okay. Bought a vacuum robot for $1,600. I do need to get a Dyson. I'm going to get the V8. I'm going to get the Dyson. It's like $300, which kind of shocked me, dude. I was like, why is it so expensive? But the V10 is like $1,000. Like, what is going on, bro? Like, I like the Dyson, but it's a pretty damn expensive freaking vacuum that they make in China for like $10. But I will be getting one of those. Buying a new tablet. What else? Bro said Amit's definitely wearing basketball shorts and sandals right now. Dude, that's literally what I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing freaking slides and basketball shorts. That's my outfit, bro. And I got some Nike socks, dude. It's so ridiculous. I need a consultant. Is Tesla moving? Tessie trying to move. 302. Okay, Tesla's moving. She's trying to move. Let me know in the chat if you're buying Tesla as well. I already have a coffee maker, so I'm not going to get a coffee maker. Also, the apartment has a free coffee maker. I mean, they have one nearby, so. But yeah, I already have a Keurig. Bought more Misty. How's that one doing today? Dude, there's some Misty whales. I tweeted yesterday of my Misty payout, and there were a lot of people in the comments that are freaking massive Misty whales. I mean, it was kind of wild, bro. Like this guy, shout out to Josh. He got 12,000 in dividends from Misty. This person got 14,000. Now, again, just because you have a lot of shares and you get a dividend doesn't mean that you're up all time on the position. Remember, the dividend is taken out from the net asset value of the stock, right? So there is always an erosion of that net asset value to pay you the premium. But if you go down the rabbit hole and you actually get a good price, some people have been buying this since the 40s, so they're down a lot. But if you've been kind of buying it at the bottom, which I think 17 was the bottom, right now it's at 20, you should be able to yield more on the synthetic covered call premiums, which is how you get paid your dividend, versus the erosion on NAV. And theoretically, over time, it should be able to pay for itself and then just basically be free money, right? If you get your initial back from the dividends in like the course of a year, which I'm running the experiment on how long it takes to get that initial money back, then everything else after that is just a vehicle to collect more dividends. And you don't pay taxes on these dividends until you sell. It's a return of capital that they give you via the dividend. It is not an actual dividend like a Coca-Cola dividend where you would have to pay taxes. So when you sell your Misty, you have to pay the taxes. But you don't have to pay the taxes on the dividends as they come in every month if you hold the shares, which is actually an incentive to keep the shares. But it's also something that people are worried about the short-term taxes. Like that's not the case on these types of dividends. Now, if you sell, then you do have to pay the taxes on it. So, I mean, I think there's some value to it. And the reason the dividend was lower than it was last time, it was at 147 last month, it was at 123, is because MicroStrategy, which is what it's yielding off of, wasn't as volatile, right? So you need that. That's why Saylor says volatility is vitality. It's like you need the volatility in order for the premiums to be juiced up. MicroStrategy has been relatively flat for the past month. And so that's why that dividend was down a little bit. Yes, you have to pay taxes once your adjusted cost basis on Misty becomes zero. That's correct. That's correct. And so now the one thing I'm not sure about, and let me know in the chat, I don't know if you don't have to pay the taxes if you if you reinvest the dividend into the asset, is that what qualifies you to not have to pay taxes short term, or are you allowed to just keep the income and only when you sell the actual shares will your brokerage update the tax? That I'm not actually sure about. I got to go deeper into that. But I do know that it's not taxed as short-term gains, even though there are short-term gains. Portnoy is looking smart on the 10 million Tesla buy. That is correct. He did buy 10 million worth of Tessie, about 34,000 shares yesterday, I think at 292. So, yeah, I mean, he's doing well on that. I wonder if he's going to sell. It's ROC until you break even. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so I don't think that means you have to drip. I'll do some more research on that, but I don't think that means you have to. Again, Steve did a really good article on this. I'm going to put this right here in the chat for those that are very curious about it. We also did an episode on this like 4 weeks ago, and we spent like an hour and a half talking about this. So you can check out the article right here. I don't think there's any news on why Tesla's popping outside of sympathy rebound, right? It fell 7% yesterday. At the end of the day, it's Tesla. I think one thing you can point to is that the American Party has not officially been legitimized yet. Like Elon has not said, hey, I'm launching the American Party, like in some formal way. And so you might have the street just saying, dude, he's just bullshitting us. And if he's bullshitting us, like this stock's going to correct back to the 330s, most likely, when the street realizes we shouldn't care that much. I mean, every time he does something weird and people think it's supposed to tank back to 250, it tanks like to 290, 288 yesterday, and then it just rebounds. Because I think AI is so like hard for the street to ignore, and they know that Tesla is the real world manifestation of AI. that they just can't say this one deserves to go down because of Elon's tweets. But then again, he could say something stupid, and then the street gets upset. So it's like it's a very volatile name, but it might not be a name that has to get hit as bad as people think it needs to get once they announce different products and updates that actually are beneficial for the ecosystem. Oh, we have a Tesla president right here on CNBC. Let's get his thoughts and see what he's saying about the state of Tesla right now.
Criticisms has been that Tesla lacks newness. Tesla can compete.
Do you think at this point auto sales matter to Tesla when there's so much, at least in the actual price, built into the promise of robotics and robo-taxis?
I think auto sales matter in that they provide the cash flow to get to the future of robotics and robotaxi. You could make the argument that Tesla has, $30+ billion on its balance sheet, so it doesn't have to care. But I think with the evaporation of greenhouse gas credits potentially, Tesla really does need to care because more than 100% of their earnings comes from those credits. So if those go away, you've got a company that's losing money. And that may have negative cash flow. That can't last forever. And I think most of us agree that we're years away from robotics being meaningful in terms of the earnings of Tesla. And even Elon has said that 2030 is really an aim for the humanoid robots to really make a difference and begin to show an impact on Tesla's financials. So yeah, I do think auto sales matter, and they're going to need to matter for the next 5 to 10 years.
Do you think some of the damage, John, potentially from Elon's political involvement is it short term? Is it long term? I mean, how much of this is about brand damage when for so long Elon was sort of the driving force, no pun intended, for many reasons investors did pile into the stock?
It's a good question, Courtney, and I think maybe I'll answer that question just with data. About 80% of Tesla's sales historically have come from Democratic-leaning zip codes. And so when you alienate your core customer, it does become very, very difficult to recover and grow, alongside the challenge of rebuilding a brand for that core target customer.
So again, yeah, we acknowledge there's brand damage, but SoFi, by the way, looking a little nasty right here, 2027 still holding on to 20. But like, dude, that brand damage, I didn't see it in the last delivery sales. I see it in Europe. I think the $7,500 tax credit going away is going to increase the demand for Teslas in the next 6 months. And I think at least for the next quarter and a half, we're not going to see brand damage inside of the actual earnings numbers as aggressively as people thought it was going to be. And then going into 2026, when there's not really an incentive to buy Tesla from the government, I wonder how much brand damage is there. But the idea that brand damage is that bad, bro, like this stock would not be at $1 trillion if brand damage was that bad. It's just that simple. Like if brand damage was hurting the numbers so badly to the point where like everyone's like, oh my God, you just can't touch Tesla. It's like, no, dude, this thing would still be stuck at 220 like it was in March. You just couldn't imagine the street bidding it up. But a lot of the street, they don't even care about the auto numbers. I mean, every report that I read from Bernstein or Oppenheimer or JP Morgan are just like, the only firms that care about it are Wells Fargo and there's another one that has a 120, I think, forgetting the name of it, but they have a 120 target. And they're just like, yeah, we think the auto business sucks. Every other major firm out there is like, this is not a car company anymore. And it's time to stop thinking of it like that. Trump on August 1st tariff deadline, no extensions will be granted. Okay, we literally just watched the clip of him saying they could get extensions. Okay, so there's the Trump tweet. So I'm reading it right now. As per letters sent to various countries yesterday, in addition to letters that will be sent today, tomorrow, and for the next short period of time, tariffs will start being paid on August 5th, 2025. All capital letters. There has been no change to this date, and there will be no change. In other words, all money will be due and payable starting August 5th, 2025. No extensions will be granted. Thank you for your attention to this matter. No one believes it. No one believes it. Who believes this, bro? Who believes it? Like did we not just watch a clip 20 minutes ago of Trump saying the August 1st deadlines are not guaranteed? I mean, so for him to put this out, it's like, it's obviously trying to negotiate. It is trying to negotiate. There's the clip that we just watched of him saying the opposite.
No, I would say firm, but not 100% firm. If they call up and they say, would like to do something a different way, we're going to be open to that. But essentially, that's the way it is right now.
He went on to say the
I think he's mad because maybe no one's called him even after these tariffs that came out yesterday. And he's like, all right, now you guys you're like, I texted once. I texted twice. We had a really good date. You keep ghosting me. This is my third and final text. And after that, I'm not texting back. And I don't know if Cambodia is going to be like, cool, we don't care if you text back. And we'll pay the stupid 36% tariff even if you don't text back. And then maybe Trump legit does implement the 36% tariffs. But the problem that there is a Fed put here. There is a Fed put. If Powell is proven right that inflation actually will be accelerating from the perception of tariffs, much less the actual implementation of tariffs themselves. And guess what happens if we tariff all these countries by 30, 40%? I mean, you're going to see the inflation. Now, again, there's a lot of controversy on how do you calculate inflation. I get it. But the headline CPI number will say, hey, goods are more expensive because all that stuff you get from Lululemon now costs an extra 20% because Bangladesh is being tariffed by 35%. And then Jay Powell's going to say, I can't cut rates. And when Jay Powell says he can't cut rates and the labor market's still strong, and then, God forbid the labor market starts getting weaker, and that's the reason he cuts rates, which is not good for the stock market because we're going to get our rate cuts, but we're going to get it at the risk of the economy getting hit. Then Trump's in a pickle. He's in a pretty bad pickle at that point. Because then what is he going to have to do? There's only one solution. He's going to have to get these 36, 36, 35, 35, 32, 30, 25 to go back down to 10. And if it goes back down to 10 with zero negotiation or concessions from these countries, he's just going to look like an idiot. He's going to look really bad. And he knows this, which is why I think he's putting out these tweets right now in all caps trying to be super aggressive. Like, he knows this. I think the smartest thing he can do, even if Cambodia doesn't text him back, is send that fourth text and say, all right, fine, we'll do 10%, but can you at least issue some statement of you're going to buy more of our, I don't know, like chemicals or something, so I can tell everybody that we got a deal done. And I think Cambodia says, okay, that's fine, we'll do that. I think at that point, Cambodia comes to the table. And then Trump gets to say 10% across the board. The street gets to be happy about that. Jay Powell will be happy about that. Inflation probably comes down. And Cambodia might buy another $20 million of our chemicals, and we get to say that we did a deal with Cambodia. That's it. I think that's how we have to get this done. But if they actually go down the route of legitimately trying to get these trade deals and we don't actually get these trade deals, I don't know, dude. It's just going to be a little tough, I think, for the street to interpret this. Hoodie 9160, Pouncer 136, Tessie 302, still holding 300. SoFi still holding 20. I think we get a $20 close today, but you do have some people taking profits in the mid 20s. AMD 138, S&P 620, Grab 489. That's down 1.6. Uber 95, HIMS 49.19, MicroStrategy 396, S&P 500 620. Basically flat on the day. Amazon Prime Day spending down 14% in early hours from 2024. Okay, this is probably coming from Bloomberg. I wonder how they're calculating this. Yeah. Okay, so there might be a network of credit card providers that Bloomberg is getting this data from in the terminal to kind of see how Amazon Prime, Amazon would not come out and say this. So this is definitely not the most accurate view. But if Bloomberg's reporting that, then there might be a little weakness in the early days. Now, again, it's been a couple hours. Most people are at work right now. They're probably not buying stuff on Amazon. But there you go. Down a little bit as we begin Prime Week, or the next 3 days for Prime. Is Amazon down on this? Is Amazon really down on this news? Wow, Amazon's down 2%. Dude, the market, it just takes a headline and it just reacts. That's what it does. It just reacts. It's the beautiful thing about markets. They just react based on what they see. All right, guys, we got about 8 minutes until I do have to end early today. I'm sorry for ending early. We will have a long market close with Technical Tuesday, but I do have a meeting at 11. Let's finish up with a Vlad interview that we didn't fully watch. We saw him talk about the OpenAI controversy, but I think they asked him some more questions. And so we'll take a look at that right here.
I've had a deluge of of inquiries.
Developing these or launching the stock tokens for private companies?
Well, so they're live in the European Union, not live in the UK or the US yet, although we're very keen to find a way to give retail exposure to private companies here. And of course, we have ongoing discussions with all of our regulators as part of the course of running a regulated business.
And confident that they'll be happy with it. I mean, it'd be widely exciting, right? If it were, for example, launched in the UK, what kind of things are they asking you to do to make sure that it's fine to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure the full extent of their questions. They probably just want to make sure that everything's clear to customers. I think these are new products, and my assumption is they just want to make sure that they are available to customers and it's clear what customers are getting. So in that way, I think we're very aligned because we want those same things. And we do think that the product is clear and is useful.
So Vlad, how exactly are these tokens, the tokens are structured compared to the underlying assets?
Yeah, so the way tokenization works is we hold the underlying, or it's held by a US broker or other traditional financial business. And then we have a tokenization engine, which basically mints for new tokens when customers acquire them. And if customers want to sell them, we burn the tokens. The mechanism slightly differs depending on the asset, whether it's a public stock or a private company. But the intent is for the tokens to be backed by exposure to the underlying asset in pretty much all cases.
So if it's a private company, how are you valuing it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Without getting into the details of private company valuations, there is a secondary market for private assets. And typically that market is institutional or high net worth in nature. So institutional investors, high net worth, are exchanging private shares or private exposure to companies with one another on a negotiated basis.
It's actually really easy to get those secondary shares. So the valuation thing is not that concerning. However, we are getting a little bit of a market drop right here. Robinhood from 98 to 91. SoFi is 9 cents away from losing 20, which would be annoying. S&P at 619. And then Tessie right here from 303 to 301. So we are seeing some red candles across the board. Amazon actually getting hit on that Bloomberg report of lower traffic, down about 2% right now. Amit, are you changing for this meeting? You're risking a denial because they're not going to take you seriously. Nope. This is one of the most fanciest hotels in Miami, and I'm going to be dressed like this to the meeting. I'm wearing this, baby. If we don't get this hotel because of my outfit, then it is what it is. Although I do think there's going to be a dress. If you guys come to the meetup, I do think this hotel has a dress code because it's like really fancy. So you probably just can't wear like jeans and a t-shirt to the meetup. But I don't care. We're going to try to get this confirmed today. Wearing the outfit I'm wearing right now. August 1st deadline stuff that Trump's doubling down on. Again, that might also be causing a little bit of red right here in the moment. Again, no extensions will be granted. I don't believe that, but that's what Trump is putting out right now. Just take off the apron. Oh my gosh, dude. I will not wear this to Miami. Okay. First of all, it's too hot to wear this outfit in Miami. Second of all, I would wear a Miami Heat jersey if I was actually going to Miami. I mean, if I was legit going to wear a jersey, but I'm not going to wear, I want to wear like a, what's the guy's name? The dude from the movie Scarface, what's his name? Al Pacino. Like, I want to wear an Al Pacino type of outfit. Like I want to look like a mafia boss coke dealer in Miami, bro. That's what I want to look like. That's the vibe I'm going for this meetup. That's what I want to do. And if I can do that, I think the pictures are going to look great. I want to get a professional. Yo, if anyone does videography and you're in Miami, message me on Twitter because I'm trying to get a professional videographer to like document the whole journey in Miami. So if you're going to be at the meetup and you do photos, videos, message me. And hopefully we can set something up. I'm trolling. I know it's Pacino. I'm trolling. That one was a troll. That one, come on. That was too easy. I could have ran with that. But I literally, like, I was about to run with it and be like, it's Pacino, but I could tell it would have sounded so fake. It would have literally sounded so fake. So, like, yesterday was real, bro. You guys think I was showing with fettuccine? No, I legit thought it was fettuccine, not fettuccine. So if I had tried to reenact that today with Pacino, you would have been able to tell it was a troll. I know it's Pacino, dude. I've seen Scarface, okay? I've seen freaking Say Hello to My Little Friend. Like, I've seen that, bro. Obviously. Heat, one of the best movies of all time. I've seen it. I get it. Like, I understand. Al Pacino, absolute rock star. But that's what I'm trying to go. I'm trying to go for a Scarface look in Miami, bro. That's what I want to do. So we got to figure out the outfit, but that's what I'm trying to do. So you're bad, so it's easy because you're not good at pronunciation. That's true. You could be thinking it was real because I'm so bad at pronunciation that you might actually believe that I say Pacino. Shout out to Desi right there in the chat. I was on the phone with her yesterday. She is in Miami as well, and she is a Miami native. She's been there for like 25 years. And she is not the person who's hooking me up with this hotel, but she is someone who's helping me just like make sure that everything goes well and think about food and all these different things. You know, someone to just like brainstorm ideas around in Miami. So very, very appreciative to all of you that have reached out. This is what makes the meetup so fun. It's really a community effort. And, you know, she was awesome. I was on the phone with her last night. She's been watching for like, I think she found me when Pounter was at 20 a year ago, and she's been watching ever since. And she has a high schooler in Miami, and she drives him to school with the morning open, and she drives him home from school with the market close. And so like even he's become, you know, ingratiated in what's going on in the markets, and you know, he's curious about, you know, what we're saying on the market open. So it's just super cool, dude. It's super cool to see the content that has become a part of everyone's life, you know? And the meetups are a way to celebrate that. The meetups are a way to celebrate that in person to get everyone to come together. So shout out to Desi. I think it'll be really fun. We'll get to see a lot of people in this meetup, and we'll keep it going. All right, cool. So I have a minute. I need to get to this meeting. Let's do word of the day. Nothing else going on in the markets. A little bit of red, probably some algos. We'll get technical Tuesday later today. We'll see what Jason's take is on the state of the markets from a technical perspective. S&P basically flat. SoFi, I think we'll get that $20 close. Robinhood, 91.40, down about 2%. Pounter, 136. Tesla, 302, holding up 2.7. And then NVIDIA, 159 on the day. Word of the day is scrimshank.
Scrimshank.
Okay, that wasn't too hard. To avoid one's obligations or share of work. He tried to scrimshank his way out of the morning drills, but the sergeant noticed. Swamped with the messages, the overwhelmed employee chose to scrimshank in the break room instead of diving in. Okay, so I am scrimshanking the last hour of the market open today because it's an obligation to do the show, but it's for a good reason. It's for a good reason. And all of you that own SoFi, particularly today, are scrimshanking your work from home obligations because you're probably staring at something that is probably more beautiful than something that you've seen over the past couple of years, especially if you're heavy in SoFi. I mean, when Robinhood hit 20 for the first time, when Pounter hit 20 for the first time, just seeing that 2 in front of the stock after being in the teens and realistically the single digits for the past 3-4 years, it is very nice to see. And it is definitely something that could get you to scrimshank from your obligations. So there you go. Congrats, everybody, with SoFi. Amid his scrimshanking his clothing style. You know, I can't scrimshank it because I have no obligation to dress correctly because I suck at dressing. So there's no expectation for me to dress nicely, which actually makes it easier for me to dress like I dress because, you know, you guys aren't expecting me to like dress in some fancy way. So I kind of, you know, it helps me get away with some of these fits. Helps me get away. Tesla right here, 302. NVIDIA, 159. S&P, 620. Robinhood, 91.61. Pouncer right here, 136.88. And then the S&P 500, 620.67 on the day. All right, cool. That's it. I'll be back at 3:45. We'll have Jason on. It'll be a long show. Lots of technicals to go through. I'm going to be wearing the same fit. My friend just texted me. He said it's Al Pacino, not Al Pacino. You guys really didn't believe that I was trolling. Literally getting text messages saying I'm saying it wrong. Who knows? Maybe I wasn't trolling. Maybe I used this opportunity to say I was trolling. No, I was trolling. I was trolling. I think. All right, that's it. I'm out. See you guys at 3:45. Bye, everybody.